SWH podcast number 2. Got Tim McManus here with GT Greg Thompson remotely right now. Unfortunately, we can't be in the office together during this quarantine, but how's it going today? How's your Thursday going, GT?
Thursday's been good. The weather's been pretty crappy here. It's been pouring out. Saw some hail. I'm just hoping it cleans off the bird crap on my car.
I guess the birds, they're not in quarantine, that's for sure. I went out the other day and my car was covered with it too. So it's not stopping them. But yeah, so we had a great first podcast the other day. Things went pretty smoothly. Obviously, first time, there's going to be some kinks we got to get out. Today we were playing around with some different music to introduce some of our guests, which would have been pretty awesome. We wanted to do some California Lovin' for one of our guests coming on today, and maybe some Bon Jovi for another one. But got to worry about YouTube and all this different music things that they knock you off and whatnot. So we gotta work around those kinks. The last we want to do is get knocked off YouTube because of a 5-second clip from a song. So that kind of stunk, huh?
Yeah, there's so many copyright issues, and I've tried to post many of games from the youth divisions at State Wars and stuff like that. And every time I post one, it seems like it just gets kicked off of YouTube because of music in the background of from the games, So kind of stinks. I think there's a way to maybe post them without music, no volume. That kind of stinks though. But hopefully we'll figure something out soon.
Yeah, I mean, we're not experts at this yet, but we're working through it. And we had about, I think around 600 people have already viewed the podcast during the day. I think we had over 300 live at one point on there. Cool. So glad to see that. And hopefully people can share this podcast with other people to get that attention even bigger. We want to talk a lot about State Wars, a lot about the sport, a lot about what's going on in the world and other cool things. Like we mentioned the other day, Glass Half Full Productions is our production team here. Keeping it positive. We talked about life throwing us lemons the other day. You make lemonade out of it. So that's kind of our mantra here, is want to keep things positive, want to talk about good things, looking forward to the summer, getting back to some roller hockey. I'm sure everyone else at home is. And just, once again, just everyone be safe, stay home when you can. No reason to go out just to go out. If you have to go somewhere or you're working, then obvious. But other than that, try to stay home. And be a good person. I've seen some people online like selling masks and selling toilet paper or wipes or things like that and trying to make a profit during this time. And it makes me so mad seeing that. I just donated yesterday to a cause here in my local town. Some guy is raising money and he's buying masks and donating them for free to all the grocery stores and hospitals and doctors' offices and other places. And it's so amazing what he's doing. And that's what I want to see people get behind, stuff like that, not trying to profit on other people's misery. If you have the money, give away the masks, give them to people, help out. This is a time where we all should be stepping up and helping one another. So hope we're coming together more that way and not looking to make a cheap buck during a tough time for everyone here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I see that a lot as well. A lot of people trying to sell stuff and, donate it if you can, yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
The other thing is too, we want to once again thank everyone out there who is a first responder on the front lines here. Our police, our firemen, our military, our hospital workers, our grocery store workers, sanitation, the utilities people, keeping the lights on and the heat on and everything else. So the air conditioning, depending on where you live. The teachers, we talked about the teachers the other day. I think my wife would kill me if I didn't mention the teachers again. All necessities in this world, like stuff that we do is for fun, obviously. And we had a great service to the public with entertainment and fun with hockey, but, life would still go on without us. You can't go on without these other people. So they're the real important ones in the world. So we thank you guys again for that. And actually one of our guests today, Rob Chornomud's daughter, is a nurse, and we'll talk a little bit with him about that as well. Yep. But, I see some light at the end of the tunnel here in New York. Things are getting hopefully a little bit better. We're hearing stuff. So, hoping things are going to get better that way. And, we're going to talk about our first guest here. We got a great lineup today. We have CJ Yoder of the Tor Mudcats. We have Rob Chornomud from the Beta Hockey. And we have Denis Jelcic from the Alkali Iska Grizzlies. So a great lineup. We're real excited to be with you for the next 2.5 hours here. It goes by pretty fast. And before I do a nice big intro for our first guest here, I'm just going to bring him on here. And we'll welcome all together. There he is. I know yesterday we did a test run. Here he goes. Got his audio going there. Can you hear us, CJ?
Yeah, it takes me a bit. Sorry. I'm old. It happens.
All right, so I want to do a little introduction here for everyone. I wanted CJ to be on here for this. So, introduce our first guest for SWH podcast number 2, none other than CJ Yoder. CJ, we could probably have a podcast for 5 hours just talking about the life and the sport of this guy. He's been playing forever, it seems like. He's been a member of Team USA since the beginning. I think, CJ, you were playing Team USA so long. I think Ben Franklin was your first coach, right?
Yeah, he's the one who picked me. I appreciate him being a part.
So you've been around forever, doing this stuff, and an idol to so many young players. I know that I don't think I even told you this, but you might have been part of the voting part. But a few years ago, I was trying to put together a top 20 list or top 10 list of the all-time best players in roller hockey, and I sent out some sort of a ballot to a lot of people I think are guys that know the sport pretty well and have been around for a long time. And we took polls with that. And unfortunately, we never finished everything with that because it was so hard to get a hold of some of the old time players that maybe aren't playing any longer that were part of that list. And I didn't want to leave them out. And just people were hard to get a hold of and weren't replying, some of your old teammates. Yeah. So we never got to finish with that. But I'm proud to say here on this, and I was one of the guys that voted for this, that this guy here, CJ Yoder, was voted the #1 all-time best player ever in the sport. So I think that's pretty impressive stuff for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think I fudged the numbers. I voted a few times, but thank you. I appreciate that. I've been very lucky.
Yeah, no, for sure. And and then you can make an argument. The other guy on here with us, Greg Thompson, he'd be in that top list too. So absolutely. I'm pretty excited just to have both you guys on a podcast with me here today.
Yes, absolutely. He was one of the best players I've ever played with. That's for sure. So Thompson and I had some good times. And,
yeah, he did.
I've played with some amazing people. Amazing players.
Yeah, we'll get into some world championship stuff later, and some of the tournaments we played in together. Yeah. We'll get into that a little deeper once we get into this pod. So, okay.
Yeah, with this pod, we want to talk a lot about State Wars. We want to talk. We've been talking a lot about Team USA yesterday with Joe Cook, but we're going to start here with the beginning really with CJ. This is I'll let you talk about this picture here for a second.
Yeah, the old 99ers. Todd Melton was the coach there. God rest his soul. He taught me a ton in this sport very early on before there was a lot of people that didn't even know a lot about it. So I would drive down to Cross Keys, New Jersey, in a roller skating rink, and we would pass pucks for about 35 minutes of an hour practice. But he taught me so much, and we can get into it a little more later, but he and me having the opportunity to play on Team USA right from the beginning. Him and Paul Chapey were the two coaches, the very first one in 1995. So I got to play with my brother there, standing beside me. I even had a little bit of hair at that time, pretty young. But yeah, there were some amazing hockey players in that team there. And we had a great time at All American Sports Mall in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, I remember that. I think that was in 93 or 94. No, 94, right?
94, yeah.
94, the first Narch. As you know, I was a good friend of Todd's, like you said, he passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago. Great coach. We had a lot of battles back in the day. Yeah. And the 99ers, talk for a second about, because they were probably the original team, I talk about our sniper team, me back in the heyday, but we were after them. Yeah. Just talk a little bit about how intense Todd was. And I don't want to mess anything up here because Todd's dead. He'd probably still find a way to yell at me for messing something up, as you know how particular he was. So talk for a second about the 99ers and Todd and just how he was as a mentor, a coach, and how particular he was with everything.
Yeah, for sure. Like you talk about all the little things that Nick Saban, and obviously probably not to that level. Those guys are professional coaches, but Todd was so meticulous with everything we did. Like I said, we literally would stand across from each other, standing still, and pass a puck back and forth for about 20, 25 minutes. And if a puck hit a wall on those cement walls that we were practicing on that roller skating rink, we all skated. Somebody was a minute or two late, and we had guys, I was driving an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours to get there. JP was on there. He was driving and 45 minutes to an hour to get there. Guys all over the place. You're 2 minutes late and you're skating for 10 to 15. And I don't know how he did it, but I felt like practices could be an hour, could be 45 minutes. A lot of times we had 2.5 hours. Nowadays, guys schedule rinks every 45 and that's it. Get off for 1 hour and get off. I don't know if he bought the place or what, but we had plenty of time to practice and skate. Let's just say that. But he was so meticulous in everything he did. And like you said, this was obviously before the Mudcats, I'm sorry. What does that mean? Before the Mudcats and all that and whatnot. And it was professionally run. And we were 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. We get on a bus, drive 12 hours to St. Louis. Everything's taken care of. We know the stops we're stopping at to eat lunch and whatnot. He was, and I've said it before, very meticulous in everything he did. And he knew the game well. He taught me so much in those early days.
Yeah, I know, like early on when we would first go down there, you would see even the shoelace, the skate lace of every player was identical. Like he was big on equipment. Yeah. Everything matching. And it raised the bar for us going down there, seeing what you guys were about or the 99ers were about. And then we wanted to be like that. And then we got involved and, with sponsors and whatnot with the snipers. So anyway, it was crazy with Todd. I remember years later after when he bought his own rink, the Coliseum, even if he had players from out of state playing with him, they would come and live there for a month before nationals, whether stay with him or one of the teammates, and they do 2 or 3 days every day leading up to that tournament. And everyone, it wasn't like today, I got to miss today's seat. You were there for every practice. They ate together in their little snack bar between practices, went right back at it. And, I don't know if it would work today, but he was definitely almost a dictator with his teams back then. And it worked.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Junior, like Red Army,
Yeah.
I remember there was like no jewelry. Everyone had to use the same curve on their sticks, the Red Titan.
We all got the Red Titans.
And then he had the Easton Ultralight sticks, the brown ones, right?
Yeah. That was after the picture we just saw there.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. He
Block pan started there,
Yeah, we're given red tape, red cloth tape, because that's what you put on your red pants. You didn't put white cloth tape on your pants. You put red cloth tape, and white tape on your sticks. And all the way down to the very nitty-gritty little thing. We all knew our job. We all knew what he expected, and it was expected for sure.
I'm going to tell you 2 quick Todd Melton stories, and we'll move on that I remember just because I have to say them now. We're thinking about him. And he was, I don't know if I'd be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for Todd. So the first story was he was coaching a game and the ref made a call and he was arguing the call. And, he basically screamed at the ref that, I wrote the rule book. Don't be telling me and then he looked over at someone and said, how do you like it? I'm going to buy this tournament tomorrow and fire you tomorrow. That was the one. And the second story was I was actually coaching against him at the Coliseum. And it was my 89s, I think, playing. And they were like 14. And we were losing to them, or it was tied. And middle of the game, early in the second half, Todd pulls his goalie. And they play without a goalie the rest of the game. We wound up beating them by like 3 or 4 goals. And after the game, I just assumed their goalie got hurt. And I felt bad, like, they didn't have another goalie. And Todd said, no, he goes, kids on our team were complaining about the goalie and he gave up a couple goals and blaming the goalie. So I said, now you're going to play without a goalie. And I made them play the rest of the game without a goalie. And so they could see what it's like.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking that was such a great thing.
Absolutely. Great.
Didn't care if they lost. And I mean, his ego, he probably thought they were going to beat us anyway without a goalie. And they did control it for a while with 5 guys, but we wound up winning. But I just thought that was a great message. And it's funny because I remember our crazy Long Island parents yelling at me after, you see what he did? He was trying to embarrass our kids. And I'm like, guys, that was a coaching lesson.
That's right.
Yeah, it just says a lot about Todd.
Absolutely. I got one for you too. This was before that 99ers. He was actually, we were at 93 USAC. It was called USAC back then. Nationals in Cross Keys, New Jersey.
I think Tim was MVP that year.
On feet. He was reffing on feet.
Oh yeah,
and,
I was there.
And I remember him telling somebody from Long Island, actually, they're yelling back at him. He's like, you know what? You'll never play on the East Coast again if it's up to me. Like he had control of the entire East Coast or something like that. Never forget it. Big
Yeah,
dude. I
That was
listened
Todd
to
for
him.
you.
He was a big dude.
I played in that tournament. I think that was the first time I met you. I think you were playing with Docs then, right?
Yeah.
You were pretty young. I was young. I was only, that was in 90. My first year playing was 92.
Okay.
So
In Southern
we-
California? Was it in
no,
Southern
that was across
California?
Keys.
Cross Keys, that one also. Yeah.
Yeah, we were the first Long Island team to ever play in the tournament, the Valley Stream Wolves.
Yeah.
So 92. And my claim to fame was I scored the first goal in the first game ever for our team.
Really?
I don't think I scored another goal the whole tournament, but I had the first one. So that,
That's not
guys like
unusual.
Weissenbaumer and Mons, they couldn't get that over with me. I had the first one.
They wouldn't give you the puck. That's pretty
Yeah.
messed up. Some good hockey players on that team too.
Yeah, no, we had a good time. All right, what do you got next here, GT?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Classic.
this here, CJ is bringing us back to World Games 2005 in Germany. Was this the only time you played at World Games?
Yep. Yep.
Speak about that experience.
Yeah, that phenomenal, obviously, when you're there. And this was actually, most people probably wouldn't even remember that this was around, but NFL had NFL Europe at this time. So we got to go watch some, obviously not NFLers, but there was just so many sports and so many countries. And I had the opportunity to walk the flag into opening ceremonies, which was, I don't even remember the amount of people, but I'm guessing over 100,000 people in that place with all those countries. So for Team USA, I got the opportunity to walk the flag in with all of our other sports that were there. Phenomenal experience. And I've had so many, but that's one that you never forget, and then we were lucky enough to be able to go on and win a gold medal there also. And then really my real first press conference, probably my only legit press conference ever, was after that gold medal game. And I'll never forget that either. A little rough because it was pretty early in the morning and we had just won a gold medal the night before. But I got people asking me questions with a translator standing there. And I probably only had 3 or 4 questions, but just, I'll never forget that either. Legit press conference. And obviously there were some tough things that happened there towards the end of that tournament, but we came out with a gold medal. And it's just a phenomenal experience.
Now, was that the game, CJ, against Canada, where you guys were beating up on them pretty good, so they started getting a little dirty at the end and some fights brought? I see Ron Tracy's face in that picture. So was that the game?
Yeah, he took the worst of it, that's for sure. He was lined up across from the wrong guy. So he took the worst of it, but tried to hold his own, did what he could, and then the other guys had to jump in. So we had some real bruisers out there. Big Danny Costanza, 105 soaking wet, was there.
Right.
But
GT, you played in that too, right, GT?
Yeah. So that fight, JP Bielstein fought as well.
Yep.
It was a line brawl, and I know
Yep.
your brother Jamie and Jerry St. Cyr, they didn't fight, but they tied up a little bit. Thank God for Jamie.
Yeah, actually, Jerry was, and I respect Jerry a ton, although he's whacked me more times than I can remember. But another phenomenal hockey player that I had the opportunity to play against.
Yeah.
Really good guy, but could obviously hold his own, and he could have taken care of Jamie if he wanted to, but just kind of grabbed him and held on to him. So respect the crap out of him, always have.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably most of the questions. I think I had 4 or 5 questions. Most of them were about the fight. So
yeah.
A little bit of a shame for the sport, because it was on a pretty big stage. But it is what it is. We came out with a gold medal. We'll take it.
Yeah. So quick before I show a clip here. So that was a long summer for us. We actually started in France for the World Championships.
Yeah.
And we stayed over in Europe. We had about a week or week and a half in between World Games in Germany.
Right.
So that was a long haul. We were away for about a good month.
Yeah.
And that was a trip I'll never forget. We had a good time.
Agreed.
We'll end it at that, but we had a good time.
For sure. Yeah, you get a little bit of time off like that between big tournaments, knowing you're going to another one, you're going to enjoy yourself a little bit. But just the experiences we've always had have been, like I said, I've been so lucky. We've been so lucky. So
Sure.
it was good. It's really good.
I see live now, Pete Messina did a shout out to CJ. So a little shout out to Pete Messina.
Good dude.
Right, so this is a clip.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Greg.
So this is a clip from the championship game. Not sure if you've seen this since then. 1-0 game. I know Ron Tracy scored the first goal of the game. Big shot, I remember. And then we went on a power play here, and this is a pass you made to Taj Melson. one of the best players I've ever played with.
Absolutely.
So you'll see a replay coming up.
Get some sound, GT, or no?
Should be there.
All you gotta do is get that guy the puck. It's in the back of the net.
You got to watch carefully this pass on the replay. You can't appreciate till you see the replay here.
You gonna zoom in and see it's in his feet.
Hold on 1 second here. I'm not sure if that was a kick or not, but the big play there was that pass. I mean,
Yeah, no look pass.
no look pass.
That's CJ Yoder pass right there.
21. Spielminute, Tor für die USA zum neuen Spielstand von 0:2.
All you do is get that guy the puck. He buried it, but I'll take it every now and then. I'll take it every now and then. I'll take that luck every now and then.
CJ, let's talk a little bit about your experience with Team USA. And correct me if I'm wrong here, because obviously, it's not as easy to find information as some things, but as a pick, I think that was your last year, 2008 at Fears, CJ, in Germany after you guys beat France.
Okay.
I think CJ had a hat trick that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Really?
I'll be honest with you. And now looking back, everybody says this. You know what I mean? I wish I would have enjoyed it more doing it. Did I feel like I had a good time? Yeah, obviously we had a good time. But just every one of them, whether it was with Fears, whether if it was with USA Hockey and Dan Brennan, just to put on a USA jersey, it means so much to all of us, I'm sure, but was always the greatest thrill I've ever had. And to be able to win the number of gold medals that I had the opportunity to do and play with the guys that I did, it's a once in a lifetime experience. I say it all the time about how lucky I was. And did I have to put the work in? Absolutely. Did I love the game? Still do. That's why I still go out there and try and chase those kids around sometimes.
Right.
Probably should have stopped that 5-6 years ago, but I love the game. But to put on, and obviously I love putting on a Mudcat jersey. I'm sure I'm probably getting text messages right now from some of those guys, but to put on a USA jersey and be able to represent your country is something I'll never forget. And it's been phenomenal. It really was.
So by my notes here, so your first year was 1995, and then the last year was 2008. So that's 11 times. Did you miss a year in there, or did you play all 11 years there?
I played all of them.
Okay. So in those 11 years, you guys won. 11 times. Well, that's more than 11 years. I'm sorry. It's 14 years you played. And you guys won 11 times of those 14 when you were on the team.
And
2007 looked like the one year you guys didn't medal at all. Do you remember anything about that year?
Yeah, it was a little bit. There was some, just me personally. I was the captain at that point. And that was my worst summer personally. I was going through some personal stuff that summer. So I was bad. I was not a very good teammate. I was obviously not a very good coach, and starts with leadership. So I think I look at that summer, and I have some of those notes in my computer just to look back at what I was happy to do. And yeah, I take the brunt of that for sure.
That was in Bilbao, Spain.
Yeah.
That was a tough one because I remember Rob Laurie. I think he lost his equipment, his contacts. It was just like a spiral. Yeah. It just wasn't a good year.
No, for sure. And I'm sure if he's listening right now, Chad Siebel's probably pointing out that was the year that they beat us. He makes sure he brings it up all the time.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you always look at yourself first, and that was a rough summer for me. And, but it happens, it happens. We moved on, and I think we won a couple after that. So.
Hey, in 14 years, you got to have one bad one,
Yes.
But the team in Fears, they went 5-6 after you left. So the 11 years after, the team went 5-6.
Yeah.
So obviously hockey's not a one-man game, but I think it says a lot that with CJ Yoder, the team went 11-3 and 5-6 without him. And then IIHF, which is obviously, for those who don't know at home, there's before, now the IIHF is not doing it right now, unfortunately, but for a long time there was the IIHF World Championships, which is basically run more through USA Hockey, and you get a lot more of the ice federations involved because the IIHF is the ice federation. And then you had FEARS, which is now World Skate, which is run through USA Roller Sports, so back then USAC, which is the NGB, National Governing Body of Roller Hockey. So with IIHF, how many years did you play there, if you remember?
Oh boy, because we did a couple of us had the opportunity to play both. I would have to look. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's see. When did you say I was done in 2000?
08 was your last year at FEARS.
So I think I did another 3 or 4 years after that, with Rob Chornomud as coach and then Joe Cook as coach.
Okay.
And then we did a couple where we had the opportunity to play on both. And Dan Brennan, who, quick shout out, because he is just one of the most professional people I've ever met.
And we talked about him the other day.
Yeah, he would always call, he'd always offer. He'd always offer, even when FEARS, and I was a FEARS guy, I believed in, that's our national governing body. If anything would ever go to the Olympics or whatnot, that's who I supported. And he knew that and was awesome. But he would call me every year, very professional. So there were a couple times that I had the opportunity to play both. So I'd say if I played 4 or 5 after, maybe another two or three, probably 6, 7 times, I'm guessing, on IIHF. Sorry, I should probably know that.
And what's amazing, what people don't realize, I think, because, I got a chance to coach in 17, the IIHF team with Joe Cook.
Mm-hmm.
People probably just think the USA dominates everything. I mean, in IIHF history, USA is 7-13 all time in that tournament.
Yeah.
So it's not just an easy thing you're going to win.
No.
And even last year, or when we won World Skate in Barcelona, the team had only won once or twice in the last 5 or 6 years. So there are other countries out there that are pretty strong. So it's not just a USA game every time.
No, that tournament is phenomenal, and USA Hockey always did a phenomenal job of taking care of everybody. It was first class, the whole time, and you were in for a battle, always. So the quarterfinal round to me was always the biggest one, because huge letdown if you didn't, and you're always playing somebody good. I remember, forget what year that was, that we lost to Finland. Finland, I think, in a quarterfinal, and that's just, now you're playing for 5 through 8, when you feel like you're the top team in the tournament. But everybody, I say everybody, there's 8 to 10 legit teams at that tournament every year.
Yeah, and what's amazing is what people don't realize, and it's kind of how we do this with the Pama Pro now. We're going to get into Pama Pro in a second, with seeding for next year based on how you did the year before. You could lose one game at these tournaments, and you went, and especially when they do the extra games after the seed, you could go 6 or 7-1 and still finish losing the quarters, and you're ranked in the 7th or 8th team possibly,
right,
with one loss. So it doesn't mean you had a bad tournament. You just had one game you lost.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, guys. Lynn's, can you?
Anyone knows CJ knows he doesn't pick up his phone anyway, so I don't know why.
I just hung up on that person too. No problem.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, what were we talking about before you made fun of me again? The World Championships. Yeah, you're right. And you lose that one game at IIHF, and now you end up being a 3rd seed in a group with the Czech Republic and Sweden and maybe Canada. So now the round robin next year is just so much more difficult too. It's just that tournament, it's a shame it's not around right now. And again, another great opportunity for me. They're always a phenomenal experience. They always do a great job of taking care of everybody. And did I lose you?
Nope, we're here.
Oh, okay. And yeah, like I said, it's not easy to win. Not easy to win.
Well, let's talk a little about Pama Pro. Greg, you want to bring up the next picture?
Yep. Let's load in here.
So let's talk Mudcats a little bit. So obviously, when you think the name CJ Yoder, you think the Tour Mudcats, which, as you know, in our sport, that's a rarity. There's so many players that have jumped around a million different teams, but to say there's a player, and I like to think a lot of our sniper guys have been like that too, like Greg Thompson, where you think of a team, you think of that person. But with the Tour Mudcats, I'm not sure what year you guys started officially, because I know you had the Docks Mudcats and stuff. But do you remember what year you got affiliated with Tour?
Oh boy. I can remember the phone call that Walt Frazier, again, huge influence in me being able to talk to you guys today, called me. But I'm going to say we started the Mudcats 94. We went to Cross Keys in 93 with Doc's Dirty Dozen, actually, was the team name, because my dad gave us $500 towards entry fee from our little roller skating rink.
Right.
And that next year, right after we got beat up by Valley Stream, actually, we decided we were going to be the Mudcats next year. And we were actually Black Biscuit for a little bit, for a year, Black Biscuit Mudcats. And then Franklin Mudcats for one summer, and then Tour. So I'm guessing 98, 97, something like that. And I remember coming back from a tournament, All-American Sports Mall. I don't even know if we won it, but we took 7 guys out there, got in a minivan, drove 12 hours, which we did twice a year because Greg, I'm bringing up a bunch of names here, but Greg Garsh would let us come to the rink and skate a little bit extra, and we loved it there at All-American. And we played in a tournament with 7, 8 guys. Obviously, we're very respectful on and off the rink, and did all right. And Walt Frazier was on the phone with me on Tuesday when we got back and offered us to become a tour team. So obviously we jumped on that, and probably the best decision, well, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
So when the Mudcats first started, what percentage of those guys were Pennsylvania guys?
Oh boy. Well,
Or even like local guy? Was it most of the team like your boys when you started, right?
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there had to be 8, 9 of us right there. And that's really just about who we traveled with, besides maybe my brother that was playing ice hockey. So we didn't see him in the winter.
Right.
That we're right there. Yeah, we'd come to my father's little roller skating rink and all meet there for a weekend and just hang out and play as much as we could. And then guys would drive an hour, Matty Denton or Jimmy Constantino with a lot of old names there. Ron Tracy, Danny Costanza would come in from Chicago a little later. But early,
Mazer.
Yeah, Mazer actually moved with me. He always yells at me about why we didn't move to St. Louis, because we talked about dropping everything and moving to St. Louis, because obviously I was a roller hockey hotbed for a long time.
If you leave him off, we'll never hear the end of it. We had a shout out to the big guy, Jay Mazer.
He was getting me riled up already this morning, giving me some pokes. So yeah,
Speed racer.
Yeah, speed racer. But yeah, we would all get together and we traveled. There was, I don't know if you guys remember this, there was the big one tournaments for a while, and you'd go to those tournaments, you'd win $1,000, if you won, and probably cost us $2,000 to get there, but we're like, we won $1,000 while we're driving home,
Right.
We would drive all over. And just like you guys would, we'd drive all over, jump in a minivan and drive all over. Couple good stories there. We broke down my mom's minivan right outside Pittsburgh one time trying to come home. I don't even know how Dad took care of that one, but somehow he did. But
that's a great part about hockey tournaments is we'll talk about records and games, you'll forget those, but these are the kind of stories you'll remember, that, right? You'll remember the car breaking down, or who got in trouble or whatnot, who got into a fight.
Absolutely. Getting my brother's truck towed in Hawaii one trip. Yeah.
Right. So, with the Pama Pro, so we started in 2015 with our pro division. And as you see, it's a very difficult division. It's become the top pro division in the sport. So the Mudcats, since it started, so in the 5 years we've had it, you guys have had a 13-6-1 record through the round robin, which just shows to the strength of the round robin play.
Yeah.
But you're 0-4 in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't won a playoff game yet. Just speak for a second a little bit about just how strong the competition is, and also a little bit maybe what you guys got to do a little bit better to get over that hump.
Yeah, it's and again, looking at yourself, it's a totally different level. First of all, it's hard just to get to the playoffs. Obviously, you just did a round robin there. Games are longer. Everybody's bigger and stronger. So for me personally, being a little bit older these last 4 or 5 years when this has really gotten big, it's hard to get her going again, and knowing you got to win 2-3 games in the next 12 hours. And the playoffs it's a different level at any sport, any league. Playoffs are a different level. So I just think that if we're going to move on, we want to keep going there into the playoffs. I didn't realize we were 0-4. I appreciate you bringing that up. You got to dial it in and know that you're there for the long haul. So, and you got to plan on that maybe through the round robin too, where you don't go to the well so many times, knowing you're going to have to win 3 games in 12 hours. So, we've been mixing up the crew a little bit. I think we have a pretty good core now. Picked up some younger guys that can fly around a little bit, and maybe if Chad would make me just stand behind the bench, that'd probably help us out a little bit too. It's 0-4, it is what it is. Yes. Can we be better? Absolutely. But it just, like you said, it just explains how good the tournament is. And those top 8 teams, you might have a game in the round robin that you're like, we should win this one. But the rest of them are, who knows? It's a coin flip. And I would hope people would feel that same way about us,
Now, when you are playing in that division as an older guy now, you just say to yourself sometimes, but man, I wish I was playing this division when I was 25. These guys don't know what I'd be hitting them with right now, right?
Well, I don't say that, but
in your mind, you got to be thinking that at times.
But no, not us. I mean, everybody. I mean, these guys now have grown, and I grew up on rollerblades. Actually, started on roller skates, but I grew up on rollerblades, so I was lucky enough to do that. But now everybody in that division, 95% of them, even if they go to play ice hockey in the winter, a whitey, he grew up playing roller hockey too. Instead of just some ice hockey guys throwing on the rollerblades in the summer to try and make a few bucks. The game's so much different and so much faster. And, I enjoy being around the guys, and hopefully I could bring a little bit those last couple of years.
I was going to ask you, see, obviously, as Tim stated before, you're kind of a dinosaur, but how do you compare the pro game now and then from the beginning?
Yeah, it's obviously it's faster. I think the game evolves, just like anything else. The NHL, you go to watch, and now it's a tough time right now for a lot of people, and I understand that. But I've had a little bit of opportunity to sit around, watch NHL Network, and watch, Gretzky in the '80s, and and some of those, and the '94 run of the Rangers there at home for you guys. And you watch, you're like, oh my gosh, could any of these guys have ever played nowadays? So the game, I'm sure you look the same way. Yeah, I'm sure you look back at that clip that you just showed, and some people are like, wow, none of these guys could ever play. But there were some amazing hockey players.
Oh, Brendan Brooks that guy could skate.
He could fly. Yeah, he could fly for sure. And we had our guys too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but it's just so much faster, and the skills just phenomenal from just about everybody there. I think we probably slowed the game down a little bit more back in the day, and it was more of a controlled.
The referees called it differently too. So
I say again,
the referees called it much differently back then.
Yeah, it was a little more. Yeah, a little more of a bloodbath back then, and I'm sure Siebel's listening. He always brings that up too.
Yeah.
But
wish it was still like that.
But yeah, I mean, it's the game to me is it's amazing that it's grown the way it has. It's faster. It's fun to watch. The kids that are playing are they're amazing. It's neat just to have the opportunity to be out there with them.
Now, speaking about the kids, here's a shot of you coaching at State Wars. You've stepped it up over the last few years and become a state director for Team Colorado, which is a huge thing for us and for the sport and for the kids in Colorado to have someone like you, your experience on the bench with them. Speak a minute about just coaching, and that part of your life now. How do you like that?
Yeah, well, obviously, and I've said it numerous times here, the sport's been phenomenal to me. So to be able to give back and coach some of those kids that are passionate about it, just like I was, Greg, just like, like we all were and are, it's a treat to be back there with them. And State Wars is laid back, it's competitive, but it's about having a good time. And the environment is phenomenal with all the people there, the booths and whatnot, and handing out all kinds of stuff. You guys do a phenomenal job with the ceremonies and everything. So the kids love it. So for me to be able behind the bench with kids, smiles on their face the entire time, 95% of the parents come walking out happy with me, I'll take it. It's just a great opportunity to give back and teach those kids, and hopefully give them a little bit of knowledge around the sport. Who's that?
Now talking about coaching. Now your son's playing. You have an opportunity to coach him. Here's a good shot of him taking a face off, wearing the number 9. So just speak to that a little bit about not only coaching, but coaching your own son now and the challenge of that and the fun of that.
Well, it's a challenge for sure. But no, it's a blessing to best time of my life right now, obviously. And I've had some good ones, but to have him out there and have, it's pretty cool pick. It's not easy at times. Sure as heck isn't easy, but 95% of the time it's fun. He loves it. There's times now with the ice hockey program that we're involved with also, we're up at 5 o'clock in the morning every Tuesday, Friday to go do some skills, and he loves it. So I'll support it 100%. And when he tells me he wants to play something else, I'll fight him on it, but I'll support it too. It's a ton of fun. It is.
Right. So I'm going to ask you a few questions here, CJ. So first, we want to get some quick reactions from you here, just quick answers here. What first thing comes to mind? So playing or coaching?
Playing or coaching? Playing.
Okay. This is what I've always wanted to ask you. Is it Piha or Piha?
Piha. You're the only one that says Piha, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It was set up as a piece of the pie. So kind of the owners, the players, and the rink operators all got a piece of the pie. So if we brought money in, that was kind of how it was set up. So you remember that from now on.
Okay, I'll remember that. Mac or PC?
Mac.
Colorado or Pennsylvania?
Oh boy. My wife's saying Colorado, so I got to say Colorado. Probably Colorado.
Cold water or room temperature water?
Cold water.
Call or text?
Text.
Neither.
Whatever.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
What's your favorite food?
Pizza. Don't get a body like this by not eating pizza.
Chicago deep dish or New York style?
New York style. Not just because you guys are on.
What's the place, Greg, I love in Colorado with the deep dish pizza?
Old Chicago.
Chicago.
Oh, love
It is good.
Old Chicago. I probably missed the most of not having Colorado tryouts this year, is not being a good Old Chicago.
Oh, I appreciate that. So we don't get to see each other, but you miss Old Chicago.
Well, you usually don't come with us. You usually have to get home to the wife and kids, and we go out. And,
It's true. That's valid. That's valid. You're right.
Deep dish there and those nachos. Whew.
Yeah.
Favorite album and band?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a big music guy. I just like songs. So
CJ likes his rap. He likes his rap.
I like my hip hop. I do like my hip hop and rap, but I don't necessarily have a favorite album or band.
Favorite movie?
Oh boy. Any of the hockey ones, but probably I watch Miracle probably still 3 times a week.
I was gonna say Miracle or Youngblood.
Youngblood's good too, but so is Slapshot.
Yeah,
they're all good ones.
In all your career, all the players that you've played with on the Mudcats, not Team USA,
okay,
in their prime, if you had to put on, and you have to be one of them because you wouldn't put yourself on, but I'm making you be on one out of these players.
Okay. 1
goalie, 2 D, 2 forwards, and I don't care if you're a forward or a D. $1 million game in their prime. Who do you want on the floor?
Oh, jeez. With anybody that's ever played on the Mudcats?
Like a real Mudcat player, not like Greg that played once. Like guys that have played.
Okay. Oh, geez, I don't know. That's hard. Yeah, it's hard. You're putting in a spot here. There's so many good ones. Well, James, my brother would be a D-man for sure.
You consider yourself a D-man or a forward on this team? A forward?
I mean, we had a couple like a Mike Cioli played with us for.
I was gonna say Mike, yeah.
He played with us for a good group. So if that's the case, then I move up because he's got to be on there. And then you got
19 skate, I think Mike Cioli, didn't he?
And then, yeah, he did. Yeah, he didn't wear the skates; just took them out of the boxes and wore the boxes. I mean, you got to put Seal on there, and then, I'd put Danny or Danny or Bri Ying up front there. Man, I don't know. That's a tough one. Can I take mine
You gotta
off?
go with Brett and goal, I would think.
Danny and Brian.
Brett and goal.
And then Liger and goal, obviously. Yeah, no brainer. Yeah.
If you had a penalty shot to win it all, one shot, $1 million to win it, who from your team would you want taking that shot? If it can't be yourself.
Danny or Bri? Probably Bri.
So you bring up Dan Costanza, we'll have him on in one of these episodes too. He's doing a great job in Illinois, and that's got to be pretty cool when you see an old buddy and teammate at State Wars. He's coaching a rivals yet his sons are playing, your son's playing, and that's what's going to keep this game going. Is that happening? So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Totally.
I Major League Baseball's had 100 generations. We're in our second. You know what I mean? Just us that really love the game for a long time. Now we're having kids and they're jumping into it. So yeah, and I just talked to Danny yesterday or 2 days ago. Just first of all, phenomenal hockey player, phenomenal person, and to see him behind the bench with his son out there wearing 14, it's just perfect. It's perfect.
Well, it's funny because you think about it, State Wars, I was just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, you got Ziggy Marzalak, who was an old teammate, another great player. His sons are at State Wars playing, he's coaching a bit. Danny, his sons, you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm forgetting.
Derek Kern,
Derek Kern was there last summer coaching. Peter Dale with his sons. So we're seeing that, and that's just great to see. And honestly, for us, that's the coaches we want to see, is experienced guys that get it, not just someone that's just yelling at the kids and whatnot. So it's great having guys like you guys. When you hear the word clutch, any player in the sport, doesn't have to be a teammate or a Mudcat, you hear the word clutch, what do you think of?
Oh man. These are hard. There's so many. And I always go back to old school. One that was around a lot of summers that seemed to score big goals a lot was Hugo Belanger. And he was a big ice hockey guy, but Canadian, played in the Canadian national team. And he just seemed to be in the right place at the right time all the time. And score a lot of big goals.
Yeah, he had some good ice hockey careers years as well too.
I played a little bit of ice hockey with him, and when I'm out there, I feel like there's 9 guys playing against me on the ice, and when he's out there, it's like they turn away from him. Like the way he did it was, I'm like, that guy's got 212 points. What are you doing? Somebody cover that guy.
Yeah, he had some good years.
Who's the best locker room guy you ever played with?
Mazer.
Yeah, I can see that.
Agree. Yeah.
He's a good time.
Yeah, best pure goal scorer.
Man, I go right back to who I played with. I don't know. I would think Brian and Danny are up there, but you got guys like Cookie could bury a puck when he played. Jerry St. Cyr had a rocket and could bury pucks. Now you got Ethan can bury pucks. That's hard. There's so many.
Who in the game today you would buy a ticket to watch play? You just once in a while you sit in the stands and go, wow, who's that player in the game today?
Whitey's pretty good. Or Greg Thompson.
Yeah. Matt White for sure.
Yeah, Whitey's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
Greg, you have any final questions here for the best possible time to lace them up? CJ Yoder.
I got one more picture.
Oh boy.
Awesome experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that was European Championships 2007 in Valladolid.
Yeah.
Yep, and obviously we won there.
Yeah.
Happy faces.
Yeah.
That's Brian Yingling, for those who don't know, that CJ was talking about.
Yeah, so obviously CJ and Brian played with the Vipers prior, and CJ actually, invited me onto their squad for the European Championships the following year. And that was my first European championship, and that was a great time. I know I went to Asiago first and practiced with the team and whatnot, and then we met you guys, Brian and CJ, in Spain for the tournament. And Tim and I were actually watching clips before, and there was there was some clips on YouTube of the championship, and CJ, of course, scored a goal. I think it was the winner. It was a give and go with Brian, and it just brought back some pretty good memories. So that was pretty cool to see.
And we didn't even touch on this, but again, another great opportunity. Fabio Forte was the owner there of the Asiago Vipers, and that the entire town took care of us. I remember going back there. One of the best nights I've ever remembered was going back there after winning a championship. It wasn't this year, I don't believe, was it? But they opened one of the pubs for us, just us. They opened it up for us, and I think the owner was a sponsor. And we're walking outside a little bit to get to there, and then it starts to snow, and you're like up this mountain, up in Asiago, that it's like it was like right out of the movies. And some of the opportunities we had again with that team, what Fabio did for us was, it was unreal.
Because I went back to Asiago, I think, and you guys left to this from Spain to the States. So I went back to Asiago, and we, like you said, we went to a restaurant. It was just us. It was, I guess, sponsors and wives and kids, and it was pretty crazy. They had a parade for us basically when we drove into the town.
Yeah,
and that was something I'll never forget. So that was pretty cool.
For sure. I believe I don't know how they put it, but like the first European championship we had ever won, I don't know if it wasn't Italy, obviously. It had to be Asiago. It was the first like championship. I don't know if it was like European championship. I don't know that they had ever won as a city, or as a town. So I remember, there were, some of the teammates are crying, and it was like it was just phenomenal. Just one of many phenomenal experiences that I've had the opportunity to have. So
yeah, that was pretty cool.
I know I met Fabio at World Championships last year for the first time. Great guy.
Yeah, he's their director now. I think he's of Italy.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of the filming for them and the social media for their teams and stuff.
Yeah.
And we had some meetings because we're trying to open up those doors too of how we can work together with State Wars and the World Championships and bring that together a little bit, because there's been date conflicts at times, and we're getting on the State Wars side internationally, we had 11 different countries at State Wars last year.
Right.
So that's just really growing for us, and that's where the sport is really growing outside of the U.S., which is great to see. And a big shame of it this year with everything going on is we had even newer countries coming this year. We had talked to teams from Australia, New Zealand, and other places about coming.
Right.
So we're still going to be going that route, but Fabio is just a great guy for the sport.
Yeah, he is. And I actually just, with everything going on there too, and obviously everybody's having a tough time, especially you guys where you're at, just checking on him, and he's healthy as can be, he says, and we'll stay in touch with him. But he's again, very influential in me just being able to have the opportunity to sit here and do the things that I've done.
For sure.
No, for sure.
With closing, see, I know this is going to be a hard one, but your biggest roller hockey accomplishment?
I mean, I don't know. Any of the USA gold medals, like I said, the one of the biggest thrills of my life is putting on that jersey. So probably Pan American Games in 1999 was really big. That World Games was really big. And I'll be honest with you, we were in Czech, going in a triple overtime. I don't know if you.
That was 2004.
Was it 04? And I can watch that video, and I've watched it before, and I was horrible the entire game, I'm pretty sure. But having my brother give me a pass and me being able to score a game winner in triple overtime, I'll never forget that, and win the gold medal too. So I've just been very lucky, been very blessed.
Well, we're pretty lucky to have you on here with us today and have you still part of the sport and coaching at State Wars. And I know Team Colorado's in great shape having you at the helm out there.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys
Thanks,
having me on.
Yeah, and we'll see you soon. All right, buddy?
Sounds good.
Out there. All right?
Good talking to you, Steve. Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
CJ.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is PJ Kavaya, the voice of State Wars Hockey, and you are watching the SWH podcast brought to you by Glass Half Full Productions. See you at the rink soon.
And we're back here, SWH podcast, episode number 2. And you just heard from the GOAT, greatest of all time to do it, CJ Yoder. Not only a great hockey player, GT, but just as great of a person off the rink.
Awesome player, awesome teammate, awesome guy. I've had some great memories with him traveling the world, and I'm very fortunate enough to call him my friend, and it's been a good time for sure.
I think the Colorado players and parents, I hope they realize how lucky they are to have CJ at the helm out there. Learn from the best, and just has just a good attitude. And I can see him, I would love for my kids to be coached by CJ Yoder. He's just in it for the right reasons. Comes from a great family. His dad, Charlie, who got him involved in the sport. Another great guy. His brother, Jamie, out in Hawaii. Another great player and guy in the sport, doing great things in Hawaii. Hopefully one day we'll get them back to State Wars. I know school's always the issue out there with the dates. But we're going to go from one great person and player to another great person in the sport. Rob Chornomud from California, LaBeta Hockey. And we're going to bring him on here right now. There he is. Coming straight from Lake Elsinore. Robert Chornomud. Can you hear us there, Rob? I'm going to get Rob to get his audio going here. We did test runs with everyone yesterday, so hopefully he'll be here.
Hey, guys.
How you doing, Rob?
What's up, Rob?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. We just finished with CJ Yoder, so he's not the easiest act to follow, as you know, in this sport.
Thanks for setting me up.
But if I knew anybody can do it, it'd be you. Just to talk a second about Rob here for everyone out there. I'm sure everyone knows this guy, whether you know him personally or just see him at all the tournaments. Rob's just a face in the sport. He's been around as long as anyone I know. I think I met Rob in 1995 at a tournament, and soon after became a sponsor of ours. And I'm proud to call him a good friend ever since. LaBeta Hockey, just been a big part of the sport since day one. Rob's been, just like CJ, just such a great ambassador for the game, big part of Team USA for years. We'll get into that as his coaching resume there. Then as a player, being part of our tournaments, as a coach with the Pama Pro and playing in the old man's divisions, the 35 and 45 and over divisions, their dominance there. But Rob, just want to thank you first for being on here with us. We know it's a tough time for a lot of people, and we joked around about it yesterday when we talked to you for a minute about, glass half full productions here, making lemonade out of lemons. So we're doing our best here to keep things positive. I know I'm going to see you this summer in Michigan. So just want to talk a minute about, some different pictures we're going to bring up. Want to get your reaction to what that part of your life was like. So Greg's going to bring one up here first, bringing you way back.
Yep. That was that was in 1996. No, not 96.
2006.
2006. Yep. And that was a good time because it was with our Pama Cyclones players that there was a big contingent on the team that year, and it was in Michigan, I believe, in Taylor. Yep. And it was cool because it was the last gold medal we won with Team USA. For Fears.
Yeah, that's the location, obviously, of State Wars this summer. So Taylor, Michigan, that's a pretty cool pick there. Some big names right there. Obviously, Jerry Osterkamp and Eitan Chavera flanking on either end there. Looking pretty.
Yeah, those are names in the sports.
Yeah.
If you've been involved in the last 20 years, those guys are big name guys in the sports, and Eitan continues to be.
Yeah, I think Eitan was going for the Karate Kid look there with that that bandana. But good stuff there. So you guys won that year, beating the Czechs.
Yeah.
Which USA and Czech always seems like that's the big heavyweight title.
Yeah, that was the matchup for us, at least. I want to say from the time I coached, at least on the Fears side, I believe it was Czech, most of the time. I think we had Canada one year, and outside of that, I think it was Czech every other year.
So Rob, how many years in total, if you can recall, did you coach the Fears team?
I coached the Fears team from 2003 through 2007. So
you had, looks like 4 straight wins, then in 07 lost. You guys didn't. That's the year we were talking about CJ, a tough year. You guys didn't medal. But 03, 04, 05, 06, you had won all 4 of those straight. So you won 4 out of 5.
Yeah, actually, 6 out of 7 because there was a Pan American Games and a World Games, in between.
Mixed in there.
So 6 out of 7, and the 7 was just you asked for a crazy scenario. That was the year where nothing could go right. I mean, we had Rob Laurie, who was our goaltender. His bags never made it, so his contacts were in his bag. So he played the tournament without his contacts, which at the end of the day, I think was a huge determining factor on how our team played.
So would you say eyesight is pretty important for a goalie?
For most goalies, I mean, he's got to the point to where I think he can, put a blindfold on and just sense where the puck's going to be.
Right.
But at the time, I'd rather not play World Championship with that being the case.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we touched on that before with CJ. We were talking about that tournament, and like you said, Rob losing his luggage and his contacts, and it was just a spiral effect from there, and it was just downhill, and just couldn't get our bearings going.
No, exactly. I think we were having issues on travel, getting there, getting our bags there. We were never able to practice on the rink before the tournament started. We had to find a little rink that was under a freeway. It was
with
like
no nets. Yeah.
And we made the most of trying to get the team geared up and ready to go, but it was definitely a challenge to address a few scenarios that we were getting thrown a few curveballs that year for sure.
Yeah.
We had showed a footage before, I don't know if you were watching, from 2005 World Games where CJ made an unbelievable no-look pass on the power play to Taj Melson for the second goal of the game, and we see your reaction on the bench was pretty cool. So that World Games, was that the only year, or did you coach in 09 as well, just 05?
Just 05. So I got the last Pan Americans in 03 and was fortunate enough to coach the 05 World.
And speak about that experience.
You know what? It was in the World Games to an Olympic event. So you're talking 60, you're seeing as, the lights, a huge contingent of all the different, 100 sports out of it, or that was next side of it was cool. But then that's the real experience if you're ever, I would imagine, in an Olympic atmosphere.
And just to explain for our viewers at home, the World Games, which happens every 4 years, the Olympics that are hoping or trying to, the next World Games are being in Birmingham, Alabama. It was supposed to be one, but with the Olympics getting, for me personally, as the current head coach of teams.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Opportunity, and it's cool of that if our sport were ever to get to what it would be like, at least in a smaller format. But when I say smaller, not a lot smaller, just it'd be a different perspective just based on the different sports involved.
Okay.
Rob, I got a trivia question for you. So World Games 2005, Duisburg. Do you know who long it was?
99.
Yeah, 99 Red Balloons. Nah.
Yeah, exactly. Things like that, but at the moment.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. She was running around
for the German,
Yeah, exactly.
It was a huge event for their tree, but it was like I said, it was cool.
Old stories, Rob, because you talk about them, you remember them. Where I know we are always talking about old sniper stories, things from back in the day, and for you have a plethora of things that have gone on in your sport that you want to keep talking about and just keep them. Great stuff there. So great. Go into the next picture for Rob. Your 35 and over team had won this cup there next to goaltender Tim. That year you guys went 4-0 in the round robin, and in the playoffs you had 2 overtime games. You guys defeated Missouri 4-3 in the semifinal, and Glenn Mears scored the overtime winner. And then in the championship, you defeated Wisconsin 1-0 to win it all. You remember who scored that overtime goal to win it all in the finals?
Ooh, if I can see that picture again one more time. I don't know if you can put that back up so I can see everybody that was on the team that year. But
hold on, it's coming.
I'm gonna guess Mark Auger.
No, I'm going to give you a hint to see if it helps. Had the assist on the game-winning goal, but he scored the game-winning goal.
Oh, Lambaga.
Eddie Lambaga.
Yeah, he's got the MVP paper there too.
So. MVP award.
Yeah, I should have put 2 and 2 together there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and
that was
the next one here, Greg.
Next one here.
Yeah. And then there's you a few years later, back in Fort Wayne. I think this was 2016. holding the big cup there with the big mitt you got there. You guys again that year went 4-0, and you beat Carshield 4-2 in the championship. So now let's speak about the 35 and over division for a second, which has turned into almost like the new pro division. It's gotten so strong. But you guys came to the scene a little bit late in state wars with the 35s. You know, there was a time where Wisconsin came out really early on, and then Michigan kind of owned that division for a bit. And then you guys came on in about 10, and then in 2012, you won it for the first time. And then you went on to win in 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 to win 5 straight years, which is pretty incredible. And then now last year, you won your first 45 and over. So I know it's not as glorious as the Pama Pro division is, but I just want you to speak for a minute about just that division and at State Wars, you know, what it's like to play in it and how cool it is to still play with the old guys your buddy's been playing with forever, and just how serious guys take that division at this level at State Wars.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one event we look forward to every year because it's the one that we get to face, you know, teams from all over, you know, and the competition is great. You know, you're not seeing the same teams over and over. You're not, you know, just putting teams together to make it happen. It's actually an event that actually everyone that's showing up is showing up with a team that, you know, can challenge to win. And it just makes it that much more, you know, enjoyable that you're there competing. Because at the end of the day, we all, if you're lacing them up, you want to battle, you want to play, and you want to make sure that you're playing the best talent that's out there. And the fact that we're able to pull together, you know, 10 to 15 to 20 teams, you know, 25, you know, depending how many it is from year to year, you're pulling in a pool that we don't get to see in this sport, you know, outside of that. And, you know, the fact that we're able to still play at our age and enjoy it, you know, just, I think, you know, gives you that, you know, you're always a kid at heart feeling that you're still able to play a game that you grew up playing and enjoy playing. And why wouldn't you play? You know, so it's kind of cool to still be able to get out there with the boys and, you know, get in the locker room and enjoy yourselves on and off the floor. But really, when you're on the floor, you're competing against some of the best talent in the U.S.
And how fun is it for you specifically to get to play with two of your brother-in-laws, you know, Kevin LeBeda, who was the MVP of the 45s last year at State Wars, and Scott LeBeda, you know, two of my buddies, two awesome guys. And we'd have to go to like podcast after dark to talk about their stories, but
great locker room guys, locker room guys.
100%, the best. But how cool is it for you to get to go play with obviously family and travel with those guys and play competitively still?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what hockey's been for us, you know, since as far back as I can remember, is playing with your friends and family. And the fact that we're able to still do that today is awesome. We work together, you know, we play together, and, you know, we spend, you know, our time on the weekends together as our kids are growing up. So it's cool to be able to still have a relationship that allows us to, you know, spend that much time together and still want to spend that time together, even on the rink and, you know, enjoying ourselves, you know, after hours.
You know, Rob, like the original concept of State Wars, you know, play for your state, you know, and you guys jumped on board immediately in 2005 as a sponsor, and you've been with us since, and we thank you guys. That rule even holds true with this division because, you know, if it was an open division, you know, some guys throw guys together, as you know, and no one wants to play, and it limits it to, you know, 1 or 2 teams. With the state rules, you know, you truly get guys playing that may not be playing in the division, and it makes it where you have 5 or 6 teams at times that can win, which is pretty special for this age group.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, and then when you look at, you know, like a area like Missouri and Michigan, that they're able to pull together, you know, 5 good teams, you know, so, you know, it's cool to see that there is the depth that you believe is out there, you know, and that you've been able to do such a good job of making sure that, you know, you've reached out to all the pockets and found them, because, you know, you're going to play probably till you die, you know, and the fact that, you know, there's these hot pockets that you're able to pull 5, 6 teams from an area, you know, that could compete and challenge to win, let alone the Michigan, you know, and that's just bringing in one, you know, central zone, you know, California, you know, we've got players, but, you know, to see what those certain pockets like Missouri and Michigan are able to do, it's really cool to see, because, you know, they're rallying teams that are traveling to go and show up to these events, and that's awesome.
It was pretty impressive last year. Our AAA 35, was a separate division, and it was. I mean, when you see teams that have Greg Thompson and Derek Kern or JP Bealston or Pat Lee, Jerry Osterkamp, guys of those magnitudes playing in the division, you're like, one, makes guys like you and I feel really old. But besides that, it's
and
like
we are.
I know. But you say, wow, like this is not a division you can just jump into and think you're gonna win.
No, it's definitely you're seeing the talent pool. It's going to get better. You've got all the pro guys now aging in, and the game is faster. Your rookie year is your best year. When all of a sudden you're crossing in and you're fast all over again. So it's cool to see guys come in and raise the bar, and like I said, speed's a killer. And believe it or not, you're coming into the division. You're going to be one of the fast guys usually. And
Oh yeah.
The rookies normally take a little time to develop on the younger side, but on the older side, they're the high stock guys that you're trying to add to your team.
For sure. What do you got next here, GT?
All right, we're gonna get into some Pama Pro.
So there's Rob, coaching his Pama Beta Golden Knights team at State Wars. So Rob, let's talk a little bit about the Pama Pro division, because you were a big part of this division. You still are. When I called you in early 2015 about the idea of putting a pro division together, wanting to make it the best in the business, you and I had talked a lot, and then we got the Nijar family involved, which we'll get to them in a second. How important they are to you and the sport. But we made quick work of it, because that summer we had our first Pama Pro division. It was immediately the best division in the sport. And it's evolved quickly into the one that every team wants to be at. It's the one everyone wants to win. If a player can only get to one, that's the one they want to be at. I mentioned the other day, even at World Championships last year, I had people I didn't even know from other countries coming up to me and point at me and say, State Wars, Pama Pro, So that was pretty awesome to see. It's become international, and I think we're going to get a lot more international interest for that division. So I just want you to speak a little bit about, first, the division itself and your thoughts on the Pama Pro Invitational as a whole.
Well, I think hands down, like you said, it's definitely the best event. I think it came in, gangbusters from the first year on, and it's just improved every year. Taking the fact that I think the fact that you understand, coming from somebody who, coaches the game, plays the game, brings teams to an event, how to make something a little more special, how to be able to add more to it. And, it's been nice being able to see it continue to develop each year to what it's become, which is just, the pinnacle for our game in regards to, traveling pro teams, so, hats off to what you've done, stoked to be a part of it, to be involved with it from the beginning. But, just knowing that, there's cash per game prize, that there is the longer games, that all the games are streamed and, that are being, announced and commentated like a true pro game. It's just the feeling, if you're at home watching this, is it's all put together right from the beginning to end. So it's nice to see the attention to detail that you've focused on and actually made this event, what it should be, and hopefully continue to grow on it over the next few years.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of work, but it's exciting, and it's just great seeing the pro guys get so into something. They're at that level where you don't know if they appreciate the little things, but it seems like the guys do. And we get thanked all the time for some of the stuff we do. It's great. We even see a mom or dad from a pro player send us a text saying, great watching the live stream. Like, it's been amazing watching the instant replays last year and all the extra camera angles that they're noticing, that they're watching all the games. We get a lot of viewership overseas, which I think helps grow the game. But yeah, the Pama Pro has been great. Now let's talk about Pama itself now. So, the Nijar family is, a partner with us with the Pama Pro division. Obviously they're Pama. and obviously that's a very close thing to you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about just them, Pama and the Nizar family,
Yeah, Pama has been in a huge part of our life over the last 16, 17 years. And their passion and love for the game, what they do for us on our team, let alone, how they want to see hockey just flourish, roller hockey, that, they're rooted into it. Mike, Patty, Sabraj, Michael, like they all have a vested interest to want to see the sport reach, what they feel is, and I think we all feel that, we're missing, that there's a next level of this that we haven't reached yet. And, the fact that we have, people are so passionate to want to see it get to that next level, that could join the passion that we have to want to see it get to the next level is beyond awesome.
Oh, for sure. Great family, great working with them. We thank them, if they're watching, we thank the Nizar family. They do so much for not just State Wars, for the whole sport. And we thank you. Just talk about coaching a little bit, Rob. I know it's a passion of yours. We've had a million conversations, you and I, about the game and coaching. What do you love most about coaching, and how much do you love coaching at the pro level?
Coaching at the pro level is great because it allows you to still be involved with the game at the highest level, but you still have that camaraderie that you used to have as a player, but you still have that, with a player coach relationship. So you're still able to see and vibe off of, the feelings you used to be involved with on the other end. But it's great to be involved in, at the same time, kind of following up to what you said yesterday, we become more of the team manager, in regards to managing the game, different from when you're able to actually lock a team down, if you're able to ever get them, for a week, before the event, and actually, infuse coaching, into it to where you can get a lot more out of it. But based on the schedules and how things work, I get it 100%. So it's a matter of, finding those guys that work well together, and that they can, fit the scheme that you want to ultimately see, play out on the floor. So guys that can, make adjustments and adjustments on the fly to be able to counteract what's happening, if things start to shift in a game.
Now, over the 5 years of the Pama Pro division, the Pama Beta Golden Knights, you guys are 13 wins, 4 losses, and 3 ties through the round robin, which just shows the strength of the round robin play, where you could have even 4 losses, and 3 ties, with such a strong team. But in the playoffs, you guys are 3-5 in the playoffs overall in the 5 years. And a lot of those games are, just that 1-goal game, overtime game, like we've all had. What do you guys need to do as a team, do you think, to get over that next hump of, I don't know, because you guys haven't been to a championship yet. You've lost in the semis a couple times, but you are a top team, arguably the best team. What do you think, what happens there in the playoffs, and what do you guys got to do to get to that next, over that hump, do you think?
You know what? It's always, it's all about ride the momentum. You take advantage of when things start to click with your team. We've had a couple that, there's probably 2 years, I want to say probably 16 and 19, where I felt like, had we just gotten through a crazy game, we end up in the final, and with, I think, a strong chance to win. It's just one of those where those are 2 specific years that come to mind, where I think it was the game against the Snipers, where we were up on you guys, and then all of a sudden it's like, you couldn't stop the bleeding. It's one of those where I think it was 4-1. And normally that's a game you put away and you think it's in the books, but then all of a sudden, like I said, it was a comedy of errors on what was happening on the floor. And, we end up going to overtime in that game. And then last year, it's an overtime game with black ice, that, is the difference of showing up into the final game and being there. But, no excuses. You need to be there. You need to finish. And, couple missing pieces here and there that I think are going to be the difference of making sure you have the depth to get through. We were fortunate last year that, Travis was in beast mode. He was out there, just a wrecking ball on the floor, scoring goals. If it wasn't for him just putting it on his shoulders on a few games there, it would have made it a lot tougher. But having a little more scoring depth would help to be able to, stretch that over a few lines and be able to, bring a wave of pressure to the other teams we're playing. Defensively, goaltending, I think we're in the right spot. I think it's just a matter of adding a little more scoring depth.
Yeah, so Rob, right here, this is the quarterfinal game. You guys had 2 overtime games in a row. It was the quarterfinal, which you guys won, and we'll show that clip right here. And then you guys had a tough one against Black Ice. I think KJ Tiefenworth scored off the draw. But here is a clip of the quarterfinal against Tor Roadrunners.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Travis. Like I said, he was a machine last summer, and he definitely, the kid's will to win and just, what he's able to do on the floor with and without the puck is just, it's awesome to be able to watch, him do what he does.
Yeah, after a game like that, how are you feeling? Do you think you guys are, in the zone?
You know what?
There?
We were feeling great. I mean, it's one of those games where that swing could have gone, you lose that game and you're like, what just happened? But at the same time, it was Sunday. We felt like everything was clicking for us. The Roadrunners were having a great summer. They just came off of a championship, and I saw them play hot in one tournament, cold in another. So I didn't know what game they were going to show up and play, but they've always been a gamer, in regards to a team that shows up and plays, and their youth and talent right now that, will be a team to be reckoned with for years to come. But
we'll watch this clip again.
Yeah,
footing. It's poked up ahead.
3-2 possibly.
This is scary right now.
Oleski to Travis No to the outside. Tries a backhand, but he whiffed on it. Cadiz gets to the loose puck. Got men open in front. Gets around one.
Oh,
fires
God.
it to No, fakes the shot. No, he takes it. Score!
Johnson on
Golden
his back
Knights!
Yeah, great
bit of
patience
sound
there.
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Passed by Junior Cadiz there, though. I mean, Junior to find Travis coming in late,
Well, Junior, I mean, that's his thing. He'll find you. The kid's got great vision, and him and Travis just have been working, unbelievably together. They find each other, they look for each other, and it's just one of those things where, if there's space and there's a spot, he'll put that puck on his stick.
No, for sure. So Rob, just want to mention real quick here, because at the intro here, we had talked about obviously all going on in the world right now, and we thanked our police, our firemen, people working in the hospitals and whatnot. And I know your older daughter Tasha is a nurse. Is she currently working in a hospital during all this, and how's she doing with all that's going on?
Yeah, so she's actually we're stressed out on the daily about her because she's working directly in a COVID unit. So she's actually hands-on working in the trenches directly in one of those hotspot units in our area here. So every day my wife's checking with her, when she gets home, making sure how'd everything go, so daily communication, just making sure things are all right, how she's feeling, how she's doing. She's working long hours, and she's in the midst of it, so she's right in the middle of it, dealing with it on the daily.
All right, well, we thank Tasha and all her coworkers out there, and again, all the hospital and frontline workers doing all this. We thank you guys. It's unbelievable what they're doing, and it kind of makes what we're doing here just seem so inconsequential at times, knowing that they're saving lives every day. But we thank them.
Appreciate that.
We wish the best of health and everything for her and her friends that she's working with.
No, I'll let her know. She's got some vested interest in roller hockey. You remember her from running the Levada booth for years.
So Rob, here's a shot. Now we know one thing. Levada is known for two things. They're known for their wheels and their Halloween parties. And again, most of the pictures we have would be for after dark, but I don't know if this is like some crazy Willy Wonka or what's going on. So can you talk a little about this picture from Halloween?
I don't know. I've never seen that before. Who is that? Yeah, our Halloween parties are legendary. So everybody goes all out, and it's something that if you ever get a chance to come to one, you got to bring it and show up, and it's a great time. But the Mad Hatter. So there's obviously we go all out, and you can't leave anything. It's coming up with a new idea every year gets a little rough, because you always kind of want to make sure that you're not showing up half-assing it. But at the end of the day, you just go all out, and we have a blast doing it. And it's just that one night where everybody lets loose, and it's just crazy stories afterwards, but it's a great time.
And I'm sure more than any time now in 2020, all going on, you cannot wait to have that party this year, knowing that we could all be around each other and having a good time like that.
Yeah. If there's one that it's this year that we got to look forward to for sure.
So Rob, I'm going to run through some questions with you here. The first set of questions is going to be just quick responses, is what comes to mind real quick. So playing or coaching?
Coaching now, playing before. When I could play at a high level, it was playing. If I could coach at a high level, it's coaching.
Okay. Steak or chicken?
Steak.
Beer or wine?
Beer, but I love my wine too.
Okay. The Beatles or Led Zeppelin?
Beatles.
Cold water, a nice cold glass of water, or a room temperature bottle?
Room temp.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Seinfeld. I've never watched Curb Your Enthusiasm yet.
Got to check it out. Call or text?
Probably call.
Depends who it is,
Old
right?
school.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Definitely Star Wars. I don't get the Trekkies.
Youngblood or Miracle?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say a tie. I have a hard one with that one. I don't know if I could pick one or the other.
Favorite movie of all time?
That's a tough one too. I don't know if I have a favorite, but it'd be a comedy. It'd be like a Wedding Crashers or something in the comedy genre.
Dumb and Dumber, Greg and I, we said the other night.
Step Brothers.
Okay.
Step Brothers.
I like Step Brothers. That's actually one of my favorites. It's pretty funny.
Favorite food?
Probably pierogies.
Wow.
Favorite band and album?
Don't think I have one. It's just one of those. I've never been a huge music guy, and I love music. It's just not something that I was that big into to where I had albums and that type of thing.
Now, in the current pro division, we always talk about matchups. Teams just match up well with others. Who's a team that you feel that out of the upper echelon teams that you just match up well with, and a team that maybe you see and you go, wish we could have played the other team? Like, give me one of each.
On the upper echelon side, I'm going to say, I think it's always a team I match up wise with. I'd say where we don't match up well with is Alkali, where, they have a couple guys there that, I think are just tough matchup guys, period. But, we've had some hard fought games, and, it's always a team that I don't look forward to play. And it's just one of those where, there's a lot of, intangibles that play into it. So that's a team I don't think we necessarily match up well with.
Okay.
On the other side, I think we match up well against Black Ice. I know we've been back and forth with them, but I feel it's a team that, I like our chances when we go into those games.
Okay.
Snipers is probably on that alkali side too, where, based on probably the two teams that, from a matchup side, there's a lot of teams. Those are probably my two. It's alkali snipers on the teams that I'd rather not play. Probably black ice on a team I'd rather play.
What about on the international side? What was the country that you thought was the toughest out there? At the Czechs, the Swedes, the Finns. Who do you think was the strongest country you faced overall?
I always thought it was the Czechs. I mean, at the end of the day, I thought the Czechs on the early side were the country to acclimate to the sport the quickest. Obviously, they have talented hockey players, but they adjusted to the roller style quicker than I thought a lot of the other European countries did.
Okay.
So from
It's your
early
fault.
on, what was that?
It's your fault. Giving them little beta wheels.
But it was one of those. That was probably the top team in regards to. I always thought that they had the talent, in regards to players. They could shoot the puck well, but they did a better job than most countries did in regards to adjusting to play.
Okay. So now, out of all the players you've ever coached, and I'm talking more on the Golden Knights Cyclone side of things, and all your years of Norwich or tours of State Wars, not Team USA necessarily. If it was $1 million game and you could put one goalie, 2D, 2 forwards on the floor, every player is in their prime of their career. It could be a guy from the 90s to now. Who would that team be for you in $1 million game?
In $1 million game, and I have them in their prime, so it'll be Redmond and net. It would be Brett Olinger on D. It would be Ethan, Jerry, and Travis. So I would run
The more current.
yeah. So I would go Travis, Ethan, Jerry, and Brett Olinger with Troy and net.
And out of all those players, we just talked earlier with that goal with CJ of Taj Melson back in the day. And I know he was a Vikings player, right? So how would he fit into today's game, do you think, a great player like him?
I think he's one of the ones that would easily fit into the game today. I mean, he was that today player back then, so he was that guy who had wheels, he could score, he had hands, he was tough. I mean, he played in the IHL when the IHL was the Premier League, and in regards to between AHL, IHL, a minor league system, but his hockey IQ was great. He could play the game, like a player today back then.
What about my old teammate, Eric Weisselbauer, another former Valley Stream New Yorker? How do you think his game would have fit in today?
And he's another one that I think could easily play today. He had size, he had speed, great hands, great shot. Eric was more the mental game. You had to make sure you reined in, but at the same time, from a skill level, ability, what he brought to the table, yeah, he could easily play in today's game.
GT, any thoughts on that right there?
Yeah, I agree. I played with both those guys. Taj was phenomenal. I mean, that guy could skate. He was just all over the place. I'm trying to think of a guy I'd compare him to now. Kind of like a Sigmund maybe, the skating, and just kind of did it all. He was smart. He was a lefty. He was awesome. And as far as you said, Eric, that flat curve of his, he was a natural goal scorer. He could score, man. And you can't really teach that. So I definitely agree with you there.
All right, Rob, another question for you here. So penalty shot to win it all. Game 7, Stanley Cup of roller hockey, $1 million on the line. You could pick any player that you've ever coached to take that penalty shot to win it all. Whose stick do you want that puck on?
Oh, wow.
You can't say Kevin LeBade. It can't be family.
God, that's a tough one. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting somebody. I'm not, I mean, the mental, going back to make sure that God. I would probably say, and I'm probably forgetting, a few guys here that I'm going to afterwards go, God, I should have said this person, but I'd probably have to say Ethan, I think he gets in a goalie's head coming in, and he's just one of those guys that he's got such a diversity of what he could reach into his bag of tricks that, there's so much of that playing into a goalie's head. And I've seen him score, too many goals of all types to be able to just have such a arsenal to be able to go up in that situation and make it my choice.
Now speaking of Ethan, he came back to play with you guys this year. He hadn't played the last few years with the beta teams. He was with the team Rink Rat, and they had the big win a few years ago in the Pama Pro over Black Ice. So now he's back home with the Golden Knights. Obviously, he was at one time, I thought, one of the best players in the game. Then he probably had a period where he fell off a bit. Everyone has those things where you don't play as much, you lose interest, things happen in life. But then now he's gotten his game back the last few years, and he's back to being one of the top players in the game. How excited are you for your team this year, your Golden Knights team, looking towards whether it be Narch Pro, Tours Pro, Pama Pro Invitational this summer, having him joining your already really strong squad with a Olinger and a Travis Snow and Junior Cadiz? Speak a bit about adding him back and what you think of your team this year.
Well, him coming back on, was a big push with Junior. Junior was the guy who really got behind getting him back on board with the team. And, it fits into what I mentioned earlier, where scoring depth is something our team really could use, to get over those humps. But I'm really excited of what he brings to the table, as well as where a lot of our other guys are right now. I've got, Travis, who's looking as good as ever. Junior and him are clicking. I've got John right now, who's done playing ice hockey full time, and he's fully committed right now to roller, and coming into this season, for the first time, and I can't tell you how long, where he's going to be roller ready, and that speaks volumes, because you have those windows over the summer where guys are playing ice, they come in, but how much time are they getting on their wheels? And now having the guys that, I've got John and Ethan, ready to roll. I've got, Travis and Junior clicking. And now, if we can get, some punch, deeper in, with other players, but, I got Garrett Haar, and other guys that are just, I think chomping at the bit right now to look forward to what the summer holds for us this year.
Now, who's the player, and I don't want to use the word underrated, because underrated sometimes has a negative sound to it, but who's the player on your team that is the X factor? So the guy that going into a big game, you kind of know what you're going to get from Travis. Travis is going to score his goals. You kind of know what you're going to get from certain guys. Who's that guy on your team that if he brings the A game too, then you're going to be unbeatable? Who's that guy on your team?
That's an easy one for me. It's Brett Olinger. He's that kid that just, you don't know how good he is till he plays for you. He's that guy who, he's a shutdown D. He can score big goals. He's power play. He's penalty kill. He'll shut down your top player. He's that guy that, there's just nothing. And his playing IQ is off the hook. He's that guy who just understands the game inside out. His vision is phenomenal. His defensive skills are as good as anybody's in the game. And, he's he's like Scott Niedermeyer out there. He skates, he's so fluid in how he skates and how he moves, so he's that guy that, he's my X factor. He's my guy that, I rely on him so much to be able to do so much, like I said, penalty kill, power play, and, be able to contribute offensively, but at the same time too, knowing that, he's that guy that I know won't get beat in, really, brings in that defensive line.
Cool. Now, Rob, before we go, I got one more picture quick. I know we have Gelsick coming in, but
I'm worried after that last one there, Greg.
No. Nothing bad.
Nice.
Yeah, some old school beach hockey. This is from 2006, it looks like. Now, you guys have been playing for how long? I know this is a weekly thing on the weekend. How many guys have play? Just kind of get into that and let people know what goes on with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the endless summer of roller hockey right there. That's it's the situation where if you have a chance to get out there and play it, you want to get out there and do it, because in my opinion, there's nothing better. It's pond hockey without the without the warmers and having to worry about warming up to be able to play the game. You're out there playing on a sheet of blacktop, and you're playing a game in the sun all day long. You got the ocean on one side, you got the boardwalk on the other. We've been playing there since I want to say the late 80s.
Wow.
And the crew there is there's a original core group that's been playing there at least since the early to mid 90s, and they continue to show up every Saturday. And it used to be running twice a week, where we had it on Saturday and then Tuesday nights, and that Tuesday night kind of went away. But the Saturday crew, it's been every Saturday since then. As long as there's no rain, the game's on. And 2 goals, you score 2, you stay on, you give up those 2 goals, you're out, and you wait till you get either picked back up or your team's back up, and it's a rotation that goes through. I mean, right now we got Travis, Junior, Ethan, Tyler Gonzalez, Dakota Evelyn, like the level of plays now ramping back up, because we're having a whole new infusion of today's pro guy coming over and appreciating it and getting out there and loving the game the same way. And I got to admit, I don't know that there's another place I'd rather be on a Saturday than, out there on the beach playing beach hockey.
That's awesome. It's kind of like your yoga.
I mean, it doesn't get better in my opinion. It's one of those where it's just, you're playing and in its purest form, which is, you're out there with a ball, there's no shin guards, your gloves, and you're just out there playing. It's free, it's loose, and at the same time you're getting a tan and hanging out with the boys afterwards, grabbing a beer and chilling out, and just it's your 5-6 hours of hanging out time.
It's awesome.
Rob, who's most likely out of that crew to do a bunch of push-ups before they get there, so they look like they're in a little bit better shape when they get on the floor?
You know what? Most of the guys are in decent shape, so it's one of those where, like I said, we got a great group of guys. It's something that just you can really appreciate it once you've played it once. You can really appreciate what I'm saying here. But it's a truly great group of guys that just love the game, and they wouldn't miss it. If I could be there every Saturday, I'd be there every Saturday. But it's one of those things where, if you've got the time, that's where you're at. If there's nothing pressing, that's where you're at.
Awesome.
So cool.
I wish we lived closer to enjoy that with you guys.
Oh, for sure.
I'd be red as a tomato when that day was over.
I can only imagine Rob's head.
Sunblock 100, SPF 100.
Right. Well, Rob, we really thank you for being part of this podcast. We thank you so much for not only all you do for State Wars since 2005, being a big part of us, but just all you've done for the sport and all this time. You're truly one of the greatest ambassadors of the game, and someone that's so important to the game. And, LeBeta and everyone, LeBeta's got a new slime wheel coming out now, which has just been going crazy for people. I know Narch Winter Nationals, Rob showed it the first time there, and it was going crazy. And then our Winter Wars tournament, the same. Kids are loving it. So make sure you check out the new slime wheel from LeBeta. I know a lot of kids right now are probably buying outdoor wheels like crazy online to skate outside. But when we get back to the rinks and whatnot, I'm sure that slime wheel is going to be one of the top wheels on everyone's want list. Just another great product from LeBeta Hockey. But Rob, we really thank you for being here. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Robert.
all you guys do. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Timmy. Take care.
Take
See you
care.
soon. Thanks, Rob.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is PJ Kavaya, the voice of State Wars Hockey, and you are watching the SWH podcast brought to you by Glass Half Full Productions. See you at the rink soon.
All right, we're back here. GT, that was Rob Chornomud, our old friend from Lake Elsinore, California, La Beta Hockey. What a great guy, huh?
We can go on and on about Rob, and we could be here for hours and hours. I mean, we went over a little bit where we wanted to, and we could have just kept talking. I mean, I think with all these guys, we could have. So it's he's been around forever, and he knows a lot about the sport and the history, and he knows a lot of scores we really get into, but he knows a lot of details in games too. So
100%. I think Rob's one of those guys. You mention his name, people just smile and they say, "Oh, I love that guy." There's not too many people have a bad thing to say about Rob Chornomud. Such a great person. Again, we thank his daughter Tasha and all her staff and all the hospitals around the world working hard during this tough time. Stay safe. I know Bauer Hockey, I saw on Instagram the other day, they've started making these shields and whatnot for hospital workers and whatnot. I don't know if you saw that, Greg.
yeah, I did.
Putting their resources towards that, which is amazing. A Bauer Hockey for doing that. But everyone's coming together, which is great to see. When we started talking about this podcast, I started making a list of people we want on this show, and just everyone's like another great person. A Joe Cook, a CJ Yoder, a Jason Muro, a Rob Chornomud, Tyler Kraft. Now we got Denis Jelcic coming up. We got to start preparing for next week. I know I've already confirmed Peter Dale's going to be on with us next week. And there's a whole list of other people I'm waiting to talk to about getting on. I got, I'm hoping to get Pat Maroon, a great player from Missouri, played for the Tampa Bay Lightning, won the cup with the St. Louis Blues. I got to talk to him and get him on with us hopefully pretty soon. He's a big State Wars guy. His son plays at the tournament. He coaches, and so many more great characters in our sport we want to get talking to. So if there's somebody that you'd like to see on the podcast and hear more about, love to send us a message and we'll talk to them as well. We want to bring people on that you're interested to see about. And up next, we're going to bring up our final guest for today, Denis Jelcic. So let's bring him in here from the waiting room. Hello, Denis. Can you hear us? Got to turn the audio up, Denis, again. I think everyone's having the same problem. Turning your audio on. I don't mind mute Denis, to be honest with you, but for this podcast purposes, we want to hear him.
So there's 3 dots in the top right corner of your screen. You should be able to. There you go.
Great person, a Joe Cook, a CJ Yoder, a Jason Muro, a
Better?
Rob Chornomud. Turn off your live, Denis, mute the live version you're watching too right now.
YouTube.
I know I've already confirmed Peter Dale's going to be on with us next week.
What's that?
And there's a whole mute the live if you listen to us live too, mute that because we're going to hear it in the background. So hoping to get Pat Maroon, a great player from Missouri.
Technicalities here.
Tampa Bay Lightning, won the cup with the St. Louis Blues. I got to talk to him and get him on with us hopefully pretty soon. He's a big State Wars guy. His son plays at the tournament. He coaches, and so many more.
I don't know what's going on.
Go to your YouTube where you're watching it and either turn that off or mute it. And hear more about.
I got it.
And we'll talk to them as well.
There you go.
There
Perfect.
we are. Sorry about that.
Scared to think you're an educator.
Easy.
So when I think of New Jersey, you think of John Bon Jovi, you think of Bruce Springsteen, and in that list for me is I think of Denis Jelcic. Wearing one of his original jackets there we supplied to our state directors.
Many years ago.
Mistake the other day when we were talking to who was it the other day? Jason Muro. I talked about the original state directors we've had since 2005 to now, and I actually somehow left Denis off the list. But
Shocking.
along with Jason Muro and Peter Dale and Dan Maxwell and Rob Ferrara, Denis Jelcic, when we started this program back in 2005, was the obvious guy to go to. You want to get something done in New Jersey. You want the ambassador of the sport. You want the best guy in the area who cares the most about the sport and coaching the kids and doing all the right things. Denis was that easy guy, and luckily for us, he came on board with State Wars Hockey then, and here we are 16 years later. For some reason, he hasn't ran far away from me, so he's still part of it. So for that, I just want to start off by saying thank you, Denis, for being a part of this program since day one.
Thank you very much. It's been a huge pleasure. It's been an exciting 16 years. There's been great moments. There's been some not so great moments, but it's been an experience that I hold close to my heart because it means a lot to me.
So Dennis, talk about the State Wars concept. So, you know, in 05, it's such an original concept of play for your state. You can't have players, you know, we live in an area, the New York, New Jersey area, where a lot of players jump on teams from different parts. You know, Jersey kids playing for New York and New York for New Jersey and PA. With the states are so close, you could drive, whatnot, to each other, that players would jump on other teams, better opportunities to play on a stack team or whatnot. You know, back in the sniper team, we had some kids from New Jersey that played for us, like Micey and Franny, and Jimmy Constantino, to name two. I know the Tour Road Roller Dragons that Greg used to play for, they had, you know, players from New Jersey play for them as well. So it's always happened. So the State Wars concept, the play for your state, when you first heard that in 05, what did you like about that? And moving forward, what have you seen change in the area because of that concept?
When I first got involved, there was a lot of programs, I always say, and programs had individual players that, you know, sometimes they jumped in the big teams and sometimes they didn't. There weren't many opportunities. There was no internet. I mean, that's as shocking as that may sound. There was no way to find out about teams unless you came across them and got lucky. You know, the Tim McManuses and Vios and Jason Miros weren't just in your backyard on your phone texting you, or, you know, whatever you're doing now, Snapchatting or TikTok, whatever's going on. The concept was completely earth-shattering because you're trying to bring the best players in the state on one team. Now, earth-shattering good and bad because you're bringing in different personalities from different teams, different coaches want to get involved. There was a lot of people. And I was floored when I was even asked to be involved, never mind be a part of something so big. And my first partner back there, we all know the name, Pedro, and I hope he's listening because I did let him know that we're on today. He was a big part of that because he had a lot of teams back then. And yeah, oh boy, wow, we're really going back, huh? Wow, look at this picture, Mr. Minerva. We've got everybody in this picture. Look at Wietrowski, I believe it is. Look at these names. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the concept was outstanding. Now, did I ever think it'd still be around 16 years later? If you asked me that day, probably not, only because of the way the sport was going back then. It was at a point that I think it reached plateau in this area, and then it leveled off, went down for a while, but I think it's back a little bit, and I hope that that's the case. But really earth-shattering because you're bringing so many players together from so many different organizations and so many personalities. It wasn't easy, but it was fun.
I think 140 teams signed up for Winter Wars East this year. Just shows a little bit how we've had a nice rebound out here in this northeastern area with our state concepts out here. People love that you can't just have a stacked team. So that last picture was your 96 team that won AAA bronze that year in Illinois 2006. And this is that same year, your 89 team. And you can see our boy Steve from the Rink Rat booth right there.
Touches.
The 89 AA team. You guys won the gold medal in the AA here. And I don't think you see Pedro. He's on the far side there as well. He helped coach well along with Steve's dad.
Yeah.
Right,
so I'll give you an interesting story from that team. The goaltender on the left side of my screen and the left side of the picture for everybody, Brian LeBay, was actually selected as a skater, I believe, and turned into a goaltender who I believe won us the last game. I'm trying to think, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
He looks sweaty.
A skater turned goaltender, and he's been a goalie all his life, but he's also a good skater. So that's a little story back there. You got McManus in there. You've got a lot of good names that are still playing.
Now, do you remember that facility? So 05, 06, 07, we were in Bensonville at the Edge in Illinois. What do you remember about that facility?
Bensonville. I remember having to cross the street to go into a building, and the first smell you smelled was the pool or the chlorine that was in the background. That's the one thing I remember. Hot summer days, you're coming from an ice rink on one side, you're going to another rink that's going to be ice cold when you walk in. So that's the one thing I remember, because you don't smell that during hockey. You could be in a rink all day, all of a sudden you're outside, you got sweat and now chlorine too. Memories about that for hockey, overtime goal. I mean, how could anybody forget our first overtime goal that I happen to be a part of on the good side for once?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's amazing. So the Edge, for those that weren't with us back then, and I always say I hope to get back there one day. So the main building had two rinks. One was an awesome rink, which I would love to have a Pama Pro division on, stadium seating with some sky boxes above. And then there was a second rink, and across the street, as Dennis mentioned, was the third rink. which was originally their original rink. It was actually an Olympic-sized rink, and there was a pool in the building as well. But it was cool because it was an outdoor rink there, and the kids would all be skating outside. And I remember that first year in 05, just walking around, and there was a duck pond, and people were renting boats, and then there was the outdoor rink, and people our staff was taking golf carts back and forth across the street. It was brings back really great memories for that. And I never knew Dennis wore glasses, but I see glasses in the pictures there.
Yeah, that was a while ago before surgery came along. Thank God for that.
So let's go to our next one here, GT.
Oh my. Okay, so that would be a win over Michigan. That, I believe, there was in Chicago as well. I can't remember the other location's name. I'm trying to think.
Darien.
Yes, that was a very good Michigan team with a lot of big names. Spezia brothers, right off the bat, at least one, if not the other. A lot of other big names too. I'm trying to think of them all because it's been so long, but that we we had no business winning that game. I'll put it to you that way, but we did.
I got some great notes from that year. So that was 2010, as Dennis mentioned, in Darien, Illinois. You can see the champion 2010 shirt on there. But you guys in the round robin, you defeated Missouri 6-3. You defeated Colorado 4-2. You defeated the other Missouri team 4-1, and you defeated Ontario 3-2. So you had tough games all throughout the round robin. Then you got to the playoffs. You defeated Colorado again 4-1, and then in the final, as you mentioned, you played Michigan. You won 3-2 in overtime. Question of the day for you, DJ, is who scored the OT winner? Do you remember?
Oh,
Wow. I even knew
yeah.
this.
I'm trying to. I know Robbie's brother Timmy is listening right now. I hope it's not him. I'm trying to think. Was it Brian? Oh God, I know who the two goaltenders were because there was goaltending decisions all the time. But I'm trying to think of the overtime goal.
Well, it wasn't Tommy Yeomans in the picture.
That I knew.
John Lucente.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
And some names to mention on this roster. So you had
Eric
Yeoman,
Carney.
You had Red Street,
Red
you
Street.
had Campanaro, who was the leading scorer of your team. You had Mike Keating.
Mike
And the
Keating.
goalie, Black Ice, is Chinny, Mike Machinsky.
I believe there was two goalies, wasn't there? Machinsky and DeCandia?
Possibly. I know Chinny was the winning goalie there. So
Okay.
that was a great year, 2010. I love Darien. We were there twice. Another great facility in Illinois.
Yeah.
A lot of these rinks, then they just don't want to take their ice out. It's hard to get rinks to want to take their ice out as ice hockey's become a busier sport year round. In the summertime, more ice is going on. So I'd love to get back to Illinois one day for State Wars.
I'm sure Pete Messina would love that too.
Oh yeah, he was on our chat earlier today. We're gonna have Pete Messina on the show in a couple weeks. Definitely add some entertainment. We'll have some fun times with one of my favorites in the game, Pete Messina. So what do you got next year, GT?
All right, let's go.
We're going through pictures here. This could be a long time. Oh, that's a little bit more recent.
Yep. So this was 2018 in St. Peters, Missouri, at the Recplex. You guys win in the AA 2000 division, 1 gold.
Yep.
Great looking uni there. Mr. Lane is your assistant coach, another great guy in the sport.
Let me correct you on that. Mr. Lane is the head coach there.
Oh, okay, he was the head coach. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Dennis jumps in all the championship photos, just so
No doubt. You better believe it.
But with this team here, you guys won the gold medal there in the AA, which was another tough division. AA is pretty tough at State Wars as well, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of teams that could be AAA. The top teams in AA, as we always say, could be AAA teams that are, lower level, can't compete with the top teams, but they're still solid roller hockey teams from all over.
Correct.
All over the world, never mind just the country nowadays. So,
right.
Yep.
Okay, was there another picture to go along with that?
Yeah, we'll get into the next one.
oh boy, I see a smile. That's not good. Okay. That's a bad picture. Thanks for finding that.
I didn't know you knew Matt Zuccarello, Dennis.
I did, and I've known him for a long time, and I think he's happy in Minnesota right now. But the current one is living in Lyndhurst. I know he's listening because I'm sure that's just what he does. I'm sure his son's watching and listening all along too right now. So I do know Matt Zuccarello really well.
So now I know from running a program for a long time, you're only as good as your people. Just like State Wars, I'm only as good as my staff. Obviously Greg is the greatest right-hand man a guy could ask for, but then, Dexter and yourself and Foxy and Kavaya and Stewart and Okada and Maxwell, and over the year, different guys we've had, working with us is only making
Matt Koleski.
Gillespie, yeah, when he was with us, so you're only as good as your people. Andrew Otto obviously is your right-hand guy now with the program. Just speak a little bit about how much he helps you. I know we bust chops about Andrew a lot, but let's talk a little about how much he helps you out.
We do. And I always tell everybody at the rink that the day that I finally do retire, or, somebody else, God forbid, buys the rink or whatever goes on, that could never replace me in the program, because there's so much passion behind it. But I think we found somebody that has, if not as much, pretty close to the passion that I have, not only for our program, but the sport itself. The guy's always thinking roller hockey, that can just say, here you go, in case
for you. But from getting our down from the leader, and you do a great job. A group of people and friends you've built there. And
it is the truth. That's really what we walked into. It'll just keep going. And you're absolutely right. Surrounding with the right people is the idea.
Back in the day, I was fortunate enough to go to the, back there.
Wellington.
Thanks, Greg. Just want to make sure Greg wasn't sleeping over. Smaller, cool rink set up. Was it?
It was.
Yeah, right. So, and then now the last few years, you've moved into your own games and whatnot. So just talk a little about
So Wellington was fun. We always laugh about it. Chris Moore, my partner, and I, also my players, always laughed that there's a homey environment, the second floor, somewhere to hang out. We're missing some items, like there'll never be the original Boston Garden, et cetera, or, Montreal Forum, and keep going with all the names. But the business is okay. We moved to North Arlington, started to look around in around 2010, and it's not easy finding a building that can house what you need right nowadays. You need a, clear span building with no poles, because when you're skating, you can't skate into a pole in the middle of a shift. That wouldn't be safe, and not many people would want to play that game. So it's not easy finding a location. We looked for a very long time. We thought about building something. We had found a location, fell through after a lot of searching. We're hanging out in Wellington until we decided to move and found the building in North Arlington. The landlord and owner was outstanding, immediately fell in love with the idea of recreation. He had somebody that wanted to put in a gym, a deli, and a rehabilitation type center. So it was a great move for us. And it really changed, not only our focus of roller hockey, but recreational sports, other places for kids to go. And I always say, and there still isn't, and we're not this actual product, but there's nowhere for kids to go nowadays. And they're always, hanging out or on their phones. And Timmy and I talk about this a lot, how they're constantly electronically involved. There's nowhere to go. So there's no arcades. There's no, fun centers, as they call them. So we like to think that we're somewhere to go to skate, to play hockey, hockey camps. We do soccer. We've done basketball, volleyball. You name the sport, you want to come down, we'll make it happen. And it's really been a great move for us. The location is great. It's right on a main road. And right now it stinks to not be there, but it's been a great move for us.
That's great.
Awesome.
Like I said, it's a beautiful facility. And I know you guys put all you have into it, so I know it's going to do great there. I know you're getting a lot of younger kids more involved and whatnot, which is the future of the sport.
Yeah.
Now, Dennis, when did you walk into the first ISCA building? Like, when did you get started? Were you a player there first before you got involved with the business side of things? And when did the Grizzlies, this is a twofer here, and when did the Grizzlies start?
Okay. First, I'll answer the Grizzly question. That started before I got there. They started in 1995 when the business opened in Wellington. They were originally called the Grizzlies, ending in a Y and an S, not an IES like everybody knows them now. And they were also called the Cubs and the Bears as well. So you had little teams that were called the Cubs, you had the Bears, and you had the big boys, which were the Grizzlies. That was before I got there. So I started playing hockey, floor hockey in high school. There was nowhere to go. We wanted to play after school. We had a championship game that was ended early because the school didn't want to do it anymore. Somebody had gotten hurt. So we decided to finish that game in a parking lot. And from there, we started getting rollerblades, which back then in the early 90s, and Tim, you'll remember, not so much, GT, because he was probably very young. We're a little bit older, just a little bit older. We decided to get a pair of rollerblades. I came skating out of nowhere into the parking lot. And from there, it became, all right, let's see where we can go play. There's nowhere to play around here. Let's go to the tennis courts. Nope, can't go there. You're going to get thrown off the tennis courts. And I stumbled upon a gentleman who had started roller hockey in town, Bob Antelos, who was involved heavily with the Rock and Rollers, was a trainer. And he said, hey, why don't you try this place in Wallington? They have open hockey on Friday nights from 10 to 12, 12 to 2 a.m. Check it out. Now I'm thinking, all right, let's go play open hockey. There'll be 4 or 5 guys who'll have a good time. You walked into 30 guys playing from 10 to midnight, 30 guys waiting, and the phone ringing off the hook to try to get into this open hockey session for $10. And you were like, what is this all about? And my friends and I just fell in love with it. A friend of mine named Sparky started a little kids program. We brought a team to Inline Skating Club. We lost every game 24-2. We still hold the record for a 12-game season, goals against, of somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, around 280. Yes, 280 goals against in a 12-game season. We did really well. We scored 6, so we're happy about that. But from there, it became get involved with refereeing there, get involved with working there, and here I am now.
That's great. So, Dan, I got a few questions for you here.
Okay.
This first thing that comes to mind when you hear this question. Call or text?
Text. You should know that.
I know that. A cold bottle of water or room temperature?
Cold bottle of water.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Piha or Piha?
Piha. Always.
It's wrong.
I know.
Young blood or Miracle?
Miracle. And that's not easy, but because I watched Rob's and I was thinking about it. So he's got to ask some of the same questions.
Steak or chicken?
Steak.
Beer or wine?
If you asked me 10 years ago, I would have said beer. Nowadays, wine, because it just calms me down.
Golf or tennis?
Golf.
Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka, or Johnny Depp?
Oh, come on. Wilder wins it hands down. It's not even close. Let's be honest here.
Favorite food?
Lasagna.
Favorite band and album?
Oof. Van Halen. 1984. Sounds
That's
familiar,
right.
Greg, doesn't it?
Jay Mura was Van Halen 5150. So say David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Hagar.
Favorite movie?
Oh, boy. Ready for this one? Goonies.
Mhm.
There's a team out of California named the Goonies that played at Winter Wars West.
A lot of teams in Philadelphia that could be called Goonies too, but we won't talk about that.
So out of all the players you've ever coached.
I got one, Tim.
Oh, sorry.
Spray deodorant or stick deodorant?
Hold on, do I need to pull it out? The bottle's upstairs or else I'd get it. I had it planned, but I don't want to bring it. Spray deodorant, obviously.
There's a hole the size of the Grand Canyon of the ozone layer above Dennis's house.
There has to be. I was reminded of it more than once.
So out of all the players you've ever coached, $1 million game, 1 goalie, 2D, 2 forwards, who do you want on the floor for that game to win the grand prize?
In net, his name is Osmar. He played a long time ago. Now he's a high-level prosecutor in the state. So Osmar in goal, Mango and Robbie on defense. Up front, Chris Moore scored all our goals from 1997 to whenever. And the other forward, who's now turned into a defenseman because he's lost a step, Chris Wolf.
Okay. Penalty shot to win it all. Whose stick do you want the puck on? $1 million, 1 shot.
My team?
Yep. Any player you ever coached?
Chris Moore.
When you hear the word clutch, what player do you think of in the entire sport? Any generation?
Any generation?
Yep.
CJ Yoder.
Pure goal scorer.
Oof. Throw Yoder in there too.
Well, you go the next one here. Smartest player.
Mhm.
Yes, but you've got one sitting on the screen right here too. So him as well. GT.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Filthy hands.
Oh God, there's so many of them. Which one do you name? We've lost to many of them, so I really can't narrow it down to one. My God, I can't narrow that down to one. God. Kidding me? Oh, Skip.
Best locker room guy you ever coached?
Best locker room guy I ever coached. Definitely Mango.
Okay. Haven't seen Mango in a long time. Good guy.
Neither have I, actually, but I'm sure he's listening right now.
Was he in Vegas at one time?
He's still there. He has
Still
a
Vegas?
family out there.
Okay. I hope he's doing well out in Vegas. Shout out to Mango. Who in today's game would you pay a ticket to watch play? You just wowed when you watch him play out there in the pro division.
Junior Cadiz.
Great player, Junior Cadiz. Shout out to Junior. Javier.
Jalapeno.
All right, next question here.
These are tough. And I thought I was ready for these.
GT, you got the next. So besides being a hockey coach, a soccer coach, you know, he helps feed the people in the times of need here, which is incredible. Just shows the kind of person Denis is. Takes care of his parents. There's so many great things. People away from hockey doesn't know about Denis. What a great giver he is. He's also got another side of him, a little side. So let's watch this clip here.
Oh my Lord, we really searched deep.
Folks, here it is, Gelsick 1, first update of the storm. Gelsick 1 reporting live from Bergen County. It's snowing. It's snowing. Surprise, surprise, it's snowing in the winter. Have you gotten out to get your milk, water, eggs, and other items?
Oh my
Get out now, because it may just snow another half-inch today. I know you won't be able to come out of your house, but Gelsick 1 saying everything should be open, everything should be on, be safe, and have some fun. Gelsick 1, we'll be back later.
You found one of the original ones.
Here it is, Gelsick 1.
That's pretty good.
A lot of us live for the Gelsick 1 reporting on Facebook. And I got to be honest, I would never want you to get hurt. But every year I watched it, I was hoping for some sort of minor accident to go on while you're filming and you're driving in the snow.
Everyone says the same thing.
The best part about
that
the
was
video
good.
is the steering wheel cover. I don't know if anyone's realized, but it says Gelsick 1 on the steering wheel cover.
Correct. I got that as a Christmas gift this year, so that's new.
Good.
I'm surprised you guys found that video.
That's
That
great
was
stuff.
good.
Besides
Wow.
being a hockey coach, a soccer coach, and everything else, he's a meteorologist as well. So that's great to see. But Denis definitely has a good comedic side to him that we get to see in the office daily. So, you know, closing thoughts here, Denis. What is the sport of roller hockey meant to you? Doing this so long, when you look back at your life, obviously the things you're proud of and whatnot. What has the sport meant to you?
It's meant everything, because everybody that not everybody, but 99% of who you talk to daily, fool around with daily, email daily, text daily, talk about with, see on the internet, you know, throw a conversation around. It's great because you can walk into any rink in the country playing roller hockey and just know someone somehow, because not only are you involved in this great tournament, but it's also a great sport. So it's meant a lot personally, because coming out of college, my original thought was to be a broadcaster. Yeah, imagine hearing my voice. I have a good face for radio. I'm waiting for that line. I didn't know where I was going, and I decided that the rink was available, and that's where to go. And I found, I guess you could call it a new place and a new life to go to. And it's really been outstanding. The rink was a lucky hit. And here we are still today, knock on wood, going through a tough time, but we're around, right?
Oh, yeah. You know, with all the stuff going on, I know you and I have talked days and days about all the stuff going on in the world now. And we've been thanking all day our police officers, our firemen, our hospital workers, our doctors, our sanitation workers, our grocery store workers, our utilities people, everyone that's doing their job right now to keep us all safe and hungry. And the liquor store people, they're essential, of course, as well during this. We thank everybody for that. And, you know, things like this time, you know, times like this in our lives, it just puts us to the test a little bit to see what we're made of. And I think it makes us stronger. And, you know, our glass half full attitude here has been just that. You know, we're gonna look at the bright side of this. You know, we've all talked about silver linings here. So for you, Dan, I want you to mention something that has been a silver lining through all this, or something you've gotten to do that you probably wouldn't have been able to had you not been in this scenario that we're all in right now? What's something you're thankful for during this that you've gotten to do that you might not have had there not been a quarantine or things going on right now?
It's funny you say that. I just talked to a player last night via text because he wasn't available to talk on the phone. He was doing some stuff. I guess a reconnection to everybody, because there's people that I've spoken to that I haven't spoken to since high school. There's people, and it's just from a Facebook comment. Hey, what are you doing? A long time no talk. All of a sudden you get a message. 3 minutes later, you're on the phone, and it's like you've never lost touch with. Yeah, you've never lost touch with any of them. That's a good friend, Joe. Joe, I'll give a little story quickly about Joe. Joe's in the middle there, and Joe Reisner is the head of Dumont Roller Hockey for outdoor hockey. He does a lot for outdoor hockey, as do a lot of those people that are involved there. And on last Friday, when I decided to, well, last Wednesday, really, when I decided to ask the inline skating club, there's a lot of people donating food. What do we think about doing something like that? And they're like, let's do it. Whatever to help these people, because obviously you're in the sports business. You're going to send a lot of injured players to the hospital, never mind now during this. So I have Joe, who I know from the hospital, who helps me tremendously with a lot of things. And I said, let's help Joe's ER staff. And I texted Joe. I said, hey, Joe, looking, for a little lunch for you guys. How many people are in your ER? The answer I expected was 20 to 30. His answer was 60. So now that doesn't matter for how much you're paying for the food. That's not the point. It's just a matter of the number of people in an emergency room setting. Normally, never mind during this. So yeah, the picture you showed, then I got the North Jersey Youth Roller Hockey Association involved, and there's a lot of teams there. There's probably about 800 players to play outdoor hockey, or around that number. I don't know how high or low it is right now. So to have our inline skating club community, and then those people, you got about 2,000 roller hockey people in this general area. It's meant a lot to do something like that. So thank you for posting that, Greg, and showing me that again. That was good.
Yeah, that was awesome. When I saw that, I seriously was like, wow, that's just good stuff right there. So
yeah, and I'll answer Timmy's question. I'll finish the answer. Reconnecting with people, real. Texting is cool. Talking is cool. I've seen my parents more now during this than I did through the years of age 13 to 30, probably. And that's the best part, because that's what it's all about. And there's a lot of people that I drove to my boss's house last week to have a department meeting on the lawn, 6 feet apart, just to reconnect and talk about what do you think about school, etc. It's reconnecting. And I think, silver lining, like Timmy and I said the other day, it's realizing that there is so much that you don't do every day that you should, and to really consider that when this disaster does eventually end, and it's closer than everybody thinks, I think. So that's good.
Yeah, even for me, today it's been raining here, but these last few days, I've been spending, like we've talked about, so much time in the backyard playing soccer, shooting hoops, doing things with my daughters, and going on bike rides and walks and rollerblade. I've rollerbladed around town more in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 20 years, probably combined. So that's just a great thing. You take things for granted. I know I told Greg, Greg recently moved into a house with his girlfriend. I said, you'll get to know if this is the one just by this lockdown here. If you guys can last, just you and her, then you got the right one. So I think it's a test for all of us, being at home with our families, our loved ones, and it's easy to get on each other's nerves. But if you can make it through this, which we are, you can make it through anything. Definitely some silver linings in every dark cloud.
No doubt, 100%.
totally. Yeah, we did want to talk some Pama Pro as well. I know the Grizzlies finally got a seed last year.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of your first tournament as a team, at the event, and how do you foresee your future as well with the team?
I'll answer this 3 different ways. First, I'll say thank you, because Andrew Otto pulled something out of me that I haven't had for a while, and that's the interest to do that level, because I think it's so difficult to compete at that level. And not that I don't have it in me, it's just that there was so much else going on. So when he came along and lit the fire under me again, it changed everything. And we've been to the other pro divisions, and I'm not going to go individual tournament stuff about those guys, but we've done that. And I said, all right, my regulars, the Robbie, the Chris's, they're getting older. They're getting married. They're heading their own lives. How much can they keep playing? And then he's injected new blood. So The tournament last year, and like I said, I've done the broadcasting, the bench interviews. It's been a different level for me. It's really changed. And I know we're all expecting the next level for the sport, the Olympic thing. And I listened to Rob's broadcast, and I was actually, smiling, thinking to myself, one day could very well happen. But I think that division brings that, and I like the longer games and the more seriousness and the prize after winning a game and knowing that you're involved in something like that, even if you are 1-3 or whatever we won our first game or whatever. And I said to Andrew, we were talking, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, if in our last game we're 0-3 and the other team I believe was 0-3, should we just go home at this point? I probably would have said, let's get in the car and go. And in this tournament, you can't do that and you shouldn't do that because it's about competing. And we have new blood and they're young. It's going to take some time for them to, get to the level of the other guys. But like I keep telling our guys, there's a lot of guys that are getting to 35 and over and 45 and over, and they're leaving the sport. And there's a lot of young blood where these teams are becoming really young, and we have to start competing. And Andrew has got the team in a good spot. I know we've talked about it a lot over the last 3 months and a lot over the last 3 weeks because of what's been going on. The Remy Parkers, I could go over all the names, Daddy Dadas, the Wolf and Robbie are still around. Other guys you can get from other teams that aren't playing with those teams anymore. There's a lot of players out there, and Andrew's opened me up to that world where I didn't have that world before. I would ask you guys about connection with players and how do you connect with NHL players or AHL guys or this player or that player. So the seriousness of the event is the best part and not the entire event, because that's always like that. But that exact division is something I never thought I would see happen in a, don't take this the wrong way, amateur roller hockey tournament. And that's really what it is, because it's 2 weeks of fun and a good time. But when you get to that division, and I never thought I'd say this, there's a lot of guys, more than I ever thought, take it really serious and personally, where they want to compete, and that's where we're at. So I know Andrew's taken that step and finally has convinced me to, after the last couple of months, to jump on. And last summer was outstanding. I know I brought Bob Fulton out of retirement. Who thought that would ever happen? I see Timmy smile about it because, you just bring, you just bring guys out of retirement that you never thought would come back again. Playing a tournament in Feasterville, Jim O'Connell, Jeff and Pete's dad is on the bench clapping like we used to when, whether I coached college roller hockey or Narch tournaments or State Wars, he's back on the bench. And it's really changed a lot. The younger players, there's a lot of up and coming Jersey players and around the country. And that's been the one thing that I've always had a hard time separating is, and as you know, inline skating clubs teams have always been kids that play at the rink. Right. You've never gone outside the rink to get guys. And that's been a hard change for me, because you always like to brag about your players, but getting the players from Central Jersey, from the Assault, or South Jersey, from the Cougars or other organizations, the Favloros. Now we have Otto who moved in with his son. You got Matesic, you've got Eddie Dada, like I said, ones that could play. There's a lot of kids out there. And of course, they're not at that level yet, but there's a lot of promise. But again, you have to also show everyone that you're not just going to be a run-over team where people can just say, all right, here's the Grizzlies again. They were 1-3 last year. Let's not be 1-3 again. That's not the focus. The focus is to win every shift and every game. I think that's what's changed me about that division.
And just getting that first win is huge.
No doubt.
And in closing here, just, for New Jersey, we got some great people, John Granucci and Justin Fabloro with the Assault program, and Scott Ives, with his Lebeda Devils program. They were all out at State Wars, big supporters and doing so much for the youth out in New Jersey. Mike Stover, he's not as much involved, but, the Cougar program there, has been just great. Melissa from his program getting the 6Us and the 8U kids playing. Yep. There's so many good things going on in New Jersey, and, we thank all them for being involved and pushing the sport out there. But then, we're going to cut you short here. We want to thank you so much for being on here with us. Again, thank you for all that you do. And we'll see you soon at the rink.
Guys, I want to thank you for having me on, and thanks for all you do. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, DJ.
All right.
Good job. Yep.
Be safe. See you soon. Thanks for watching, guys.
That was Denis Jelcic, coming to a close here on SWH podcast number 2, GT, CJ Yoder, Rob Chornomud, Denis Jelcic, 3 great guests there, 3 great people in the sport, all from different parts of the country, Colorado, California, and of course, New Jersey. We thank those guys for being here. Want to do a big shout out quick to our sponsors that do so much for State Wars hockey. Mission Bauer, Tor, Alkali, Warrior, Lebeda, Rink Rat, Conix, Top Shelf Targets, Wraparound, Jord Watches, Car Shield, Rocket Puck, everyone, Hockey Monkey, Pure Hockey has worked with us during the year, our Winter Wars tournament. So everyone that works with us and supports us, we thank you guys. Been a lot of fun. Any closing thoughts from UGT?
Good luck to the next 3, because this was a good one. It's hard to really go after that. Got 3 good guys today with some awesome insight of the sport and where they came from, and just love talking the game. And we could have been here for hours and hours and hours with those guys. So no, it was great. Loved it.
All right, well, we're signing off here. Everyone be safe, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is PJ Kavaya, the voice of State Wars Hockey, and you are watching the SWH podcast brought to you by Glass Half Full Productions. See you at the rink soon.